Henry VI, Part 3, by William Shakespeare. Act 1, Scene 1. Alarm, enter, Duke of York, Edward, Richard, Norfolk, Falconbridge, Warwick, and soldiers.
I wonder how the king escaped our hands.
Well, we pursued the horsemen of the north. He slyly stole away and left his men. Whereat the great Lord of Northumberland, whose warlike ears could never brook retreat, cheered up the drooping army, and himself, Lord Clifford and Lord Stafford, all abreast, charged our mains battle's front, and breaking in, were by the swords of common soldiers slain.
Lord Stafford's father, Duke of Buckingham, is either slain or wounded dangerous. I cleft his beaver with a downright blow. That this is true, father, behold his blood.
And, brother, here's the Earl of Wiltshire's blood, whom I encountered as the battles joined.
Speak thou for me, and tell them what I did.
Richard hath best deserved of all my sons. But is your grace dead, my lord of Somerset?
Such hope have all the line of John of Gaunt.
Now do I hope to shake King Henry's head.
And so do I. Victorious Prince of York, before I see thee seated in that throne, which now the house of Lancaster usurps, I vow by heaven, these eyes shall never close. This is the palace of the fearful king, and this the regal seat. Possess it, York, for this is thine, and not King Henry's heirs.
Assist me then, sweet York, and I will. For hither we have broken in by force.
Missy, could you read Norfolk, please? Missy?
Yes, of course. Yeah, of course. Just trying to remember where. Oh, yes. We're up to. We'll all assist you. He that flies shall die.
30. Line 30. Yes.
Okay. We'll all assist. He that flies shall die.
Thanks, gentle Norfolk. Stay by me, my lords, and soldiers, stay and lodge by me this night.
And when the king comes, offer no violence, unless he seek to thrust you out perforce.
The queen this day here holds her parliament, but little thinks we shall be of her counsel. By words or blow here let us win our right.
Armed us as we are, let's stay within this house.
The bloody parliament shall this be called, unless Plantagenet, Duke of York, be king, and bashful Henry deposed, whose cowardice hath made us by words to our enemies.
Then leave me not, my lords. Be resolute. I mean to take possession of my right.
Neither the king nor he that loves him best, the proudest he that holds up Lancaster, dares stir a wing. If Warwick shake his bells, I'll plant Plantagenet. Root him up who dares. Resolve thee, Richard. Claim the English crown.
Sorry. Flourish, enter King Henry, Clifford, Northumberland, Westmoreland, Exeter, and the rest.
My lords, look where the sturdy rebel sits, even in the chair of state. Belike he means, backed by the power of Warwick, that false peer, to aspire unto the crown and reign as king. Earl of Northumberland, he slew thy father, and thine, Lord Clifford, and you both have vowed revenge on him, his sons, his favorites, and his friends.
If I be not, heavens be revenged on me.
The hope thereof makes Clifford mourn in steel.
What, shall we suffer this? Let's pluck him down. My heart for anger burns, I cannot brook it.
Be patient, gentle Earl of Westmoreland.
Patience is for poltroons such as he. He durst not sit there had your father lived. My gracious lord, here in the parliament let us assail the family of York.
Well hast thou spoken, cousin. Be it so.
Ah, know you not the city favors them, and they have troops of soldiers at their beck?
But when the duke is slain, they'll quickly fly.
Far be the thought of this from Henry's heart, to make a shambles of the Parliament House. Cousin of Exeter, frowns, words, and threats shall be the war that Henry means to use. Thou factious Duke of York, Descend my throne, and kneel for grace and mercy at my feet. I am thy sovereign.
I am thine.
For shame come down. He made thee Duke of York.
It was my inheritance as the earldom was.
Thy father was a traitor to the crown.
Exeter, thou art a traitor to the crown in following this usurping Henry.
Whom should he follow but his natural king?
True Clifford, and that's Richard, Duke of York.
Shall I stand, and thou sit in my throne?
It must and shall be so. Content thyself.
Be Duke of Lancaster. Let him be king.
He is both king and Duke of Lancaster, and that the Lord of Westmoreland shall maintain.
And Warwick shall disprove it. You forget that we are those which chased you from the field and slew your fathers, and with colors spread, marched through the city to the palace gates.
Yes, Warwick, I remember it to my grief, and by his soul thou and thy house shall rue it.
Plantagenet, of thee and these thy sons, thy kinsmen and thy friends, I'll have more lives than drops of blood were in my father's veins.
Urge it no more, lest that instead of words, I send thee, Warwick, such a messenger, as shall revenge his death before I stir.
Or Clifford, how I scorn his worthless threats.
Hey, I'm sorry. What line are we on?
105.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, my internet went out for a minute. Will you not show our title to the crown? If not, our sword shall plead it in the field.
What title hast thou, traitor to the crown? Thy father was as thou art, Duke of York. Thy grandfather, Roger Mortimer, Earl of March. I am the son of Henry V, who made the Dauphin and the French to stoop and seized upon their towns and provinces.
Talk not of France, sith thou hast lost it all.
The Lord Protector lost it, and not I. When I was crowned, I was but 9 months old.
You are old enough now, and yet methinks you lose. Father, tear the crown from the usurper's head.
Sweet father, do so. Set it on your head.
Good brother, as thou lovest and honorest arms, let's fight it out and not stand concealing thus.
Sound drums and trumpets, and the king will fly.
Sons, peace.
Peace thou, and give King Henry leave to speak.
Plantagenet shall speak first. Hear him, lords, and be you silent and attentive too, for he that interrupts him shall not live.
Thinkest thou that I would leave my kingly throne, wherein my grandsire and my father sat? No. First shall war unpeople this my realm, I, and their colors, often born in France, and now in England to our heart's great sorrow, shall be my winding sheet. Why faint, lords? My title's good, and better far than his.
Prove it, Henry, and thou shalt be king.
Henry the Fourth by conquest got the crown.
'Twas by rebellion against his king.
I know not what to say. My title's weak. Tell me, may not a king adopt an heir?
What then?
And if he may, then am I lawful king. For Richard, in the view of many lords, resigned the crown to Henry IV, whose heir my father was, and I am his.
He rose against him, being his sovereign, and made him to resign his crown perforce.
Suppose, my lords, he did it unconstrained. Think you 'twere prejudicial to his crown?
No, for he could not so resign his crown, but that the next heir should succeed and reign.
Art thou against us, Duke of Exeter?
His is the right, and therefore pardon me.
Why whisper you, my lords, and answer not?
My conscience tells me he is lawful king. All will revolt from me and turn to him.
Plantagenet, for all the claim thou layest, think not that Henry shall be so deposed.
Deposed he shall be, in despite of all.
Thou art deceived. 'Tis not thy southern power of Essex, Norfolk, Suffolk, nor of Kent, which makes thee thus presumptuous and proud, can set the Duke up in despite of me.
King Henry, be thy title right or wrong, Lord Clifford vows to fight in thy defense. May that ground gape and swallow me alive, where I shall kneel to him that slew my father.
Oh, Clifford, how thy words revive my heart.
Henry of Lancaster, resign thy crown. What mutter you, or what conspire you, lords?
Do right unto this princely Duke of York, or I will fill this house with armed men, and over the chair of state where now he sits, write up his title, the usurping blood.
My Lord of Warwick, hear but one word. Let me for this my lifetime reign as king.
Confirm the crown to me and to mine heirs, and thou shalt reign in quiet while thou livest.
I am content. Richard Plantagenet, enjoy the kingdom after my decease.
What wrong is this unto the prince your son?
What good is this to England and himself?
Base, fearful, and despairing Henry.
How hast thou injured both thyself and us?
I cannot stay to hear these articles.
Nor I.
Come, cousin, let us tell the queen these news.
Farewell, faint-hearted and degenerate king, in whose cold blood no spark of honor resides.
Be thou a prey unto the house of York, and die in bands for this unmanly deed.
In dreadful war mayest thou be overcome, or live in peace abandoned and despised.
Turn this way, Henry, and regard them not.
They seek revenge and therefore will not yield.
Ah, Exeter.
Why should you sigh, my lord?
Not for myself, Lord Warwick, but my son, whom I unnaturally shall disinherit, but be it as it may, I here entail the crown to thee and to thine heirs forever, conditionally that here thou take an oath to cease this civil war, and whilst I live, to honor me as thy king and sovereign, and neither by treason nor hostility to seek to put me down and reign thyself.
This oath I willingly take and will perform.
Long live King Henry. Plantagenet, embrace him.
And long live thou, and these thy forward sons.
Now, York and Lancaster are reconciled.
Cursed be he that seeks to make them foes.
Farewell, my gracious lord. All to my castle.
And I'll keep London with my soldiers.
Exit with his sons.
And I with grief and sorrow to the court.
Excellent. Norfolk. Missy? No. And I to Norfolk
Okay,
with my father.
sorry about that. And I to Norfolk with my fellow heirs.
And I unto the sea from whence I came.
Exit.
And I with grief and sorrow to the court.
Enter Queen Margaret and the Prince of Wales.
Here comes the queen, whose look bewray her anger. I'll steal away.
Exeter, so will I.
Nay, go not from me. I will follow that. I will follow thee.
Be patient, gentle queen, and I will stay.
Be patient in such extremes. A wretched man! Would I had died a maid and never seen thee, never borne thee son, sending thou hast proved so unnatural a father. He deserved to lose his birthright thus. Hast thou but loved him half so well as I, or felt that pain which I did for him once, or nourished him as I did with my blood? Thou wouldst have left thy dearest heart blood there, rather than have made that savage duke thine heir and disinherited thy only son.
Father, you cannot disinherit me. If you be king, why should I not succeed?
Pardon me, Margaret. Pardon me, sweet son. The Earl of Warwick and the Duke enforced me.
Enforced thee? Art thou king and wilt be forced? I shame to hear thee speak. Oh, timorous wretch! Thou hast undone thyself, thy son, and me, and given unto the house of York such head as thou shalt reign but by thy sufferance, to entail him and his heirs unto the crown. What is it but to make the skeptical and creep into it far before thy time? Warwick is a chancellor, and the lord of Calais. Stern Falconbridge commands the narrow sea. That duke is made protector of the realm, and yet shalt then he be safe? Such safety finds that trembling lamb environed with wolves. I've been there. Which am I, a silly woman? The soldiers would have tossed me on their pikes before I would have granted to that act. But thou preferest thy life before thine honor, and seeing thou dost, I here divorce myself both from thy table, Henry, and thy bed, until that act of Parliament be repealed, whereby my son is disinherited. The northern lords that have forsworn thy colors will follow mine if once they see them spread, and spread they shall be for thy foul disgrace and utter ruin of the house of York. Thus do I leave thee. Come, son, let's away, our army is ready. Come, will after them.
Stay, gentle Margaret, and hear me speak.
Thou hast spoke too much already. Get thee gone.
Gentle son Edward, thou wilt stay with me?
I, to be murdered by his enemies.
When I return with victory from the field, I will see your grace. Till then, I'll follow her.
Come, son, away. We may not linger thus.
Exeunt Queen Margaret and the Prince.
Poor queen, how love to me and to her son hath made her break out into terms of rage. Revenged may she be on that hateful duke, whose haughty spirit, winged with desire, will cost my crown, and like an empty eagle, tire on the flesh of me and my son. The loss of those three lords torments my heart. I'll write unto them and entreat them fair. Come, cousin, you shall be the messenger.
And I hope, shall reconcile them all.
Flourish, exeunt, enter Edward, Richard, and Montague. Brother, though I be youngest, give me leave.
No, I can't better play the orator.
But I have reason strong and forcible.
Enter Duke of York.
Why, how now, sons and brother at a strife? What is your quarrel? How began it first?
No quarrel, but a slight, sorry about that, but a slight contention.
About what?
About that which concerns your grace and us, the crown of England, father, which is yours.
Mine, boy? Not until King Henry be dead.
Your right depends on his life or death.
Now
Depends
you
on
are
his life or death.
now you are heir, therefore enjoy it now. By giving the house of Lancaster leave to breathe, it will outrun you farther in the end.
I took an oath that he should quietly reign.
But for a kingdom any oath may be broken, I would break 1,000 oaths to reign 1 year.
No, God forbid your grace should be forsworn.
I shall be if I claim by open war.
I'll prove the contrary if you'll hear me speak.
Thou canst not, son. It is impossible.
An oath is of no moment being not took before a true and lawful magistrate that hath authority over him that swears. Henry had none, but did usurp the place. Then, seeing 'twas he that made you to dispose, your oath, my lord, is vain and frivolous. Therefore to arms, and father, do but think how sweet a thing it is to wear a crown, within whose circuit is Elysium, and all that poets feign of bliss and joy. Why do we linger thus? I cannot rest until the white rose than I where be dyed even in the lukewarm blood of Henry's heart.
Richard, enough. I will be king or die. Brother, thou shalt to London presently, and wed on Warwick to this enterprise. Thou, Richard, shalt to the Duke of Norfolk, and tell him privily of our intent. You, Edward, shall unto my lord Cobham, with whom the Kenishmen will willingly rise. In them I trust, for they are soldiers, witty, courteous, liberal, full of spirit. While you are thus employed, what resteth more but that I seek occasion how to rise, and that yet the king not privy to my drift, nor any of the house of Lancaster.
Enter messenger.
But stay, what news? Why comest thou in such a post?
The queen with all the northern earls and lords intend ere to besiege you in your castle. She is hard by with 20,000 men, and therefore fortify your hold, my lord.
Aye, with my sword. What, thinkest thou that we fear them? Edward and Richard, you shall stay with me. My brother Montague shall post to London. Let noble Warwick, Cobham, and the rest, whom we have left protectors of the king, with powerful policy strengthen themselves, and trust not simple Henry nor his oaths.
Rather I go. I'll win them, fear it not. And thus most humbly I do take my leave.
Exits. Enter Sir John and Sir Hugh Mortimer.
Sir John and Sir Hugh Mortimer, mine uncles, you are come to Sandal in a happy hour. The army of the queen mean to besiege us.
She shall not need. We'll meet her in the field.
What, with 5,000 men?
Aye, with 500, father, for a need. A woman's general. What should we fear?
I hear their drums. Let's set our men in order and issue forth and bid them battle straight.
5 men to 20? Though the odds be great, I doubt not, uncle, of our victory. Many a battle have I won in France, when as the enemy hath been 10 to 1. Why should I not now have the like success?
Exuents. Alarms. Enter Rutland and his tutor.
Ah, whither shall I fly to escape their hands? Ah, tutor, look where bloody Clifford comes.
Enter Clifford and soldiers.
Ah, tutor, look where bloody Clifford comes.
Chaplain, away. Thy priesthood saves thy life. As for the brat of this accursed duke, whose father slew my father, he shall die.
And I, my lord, will bear him company.
Soldiers, away with him.
Ah, Clifford, murder not this innocent child, lest thou be hated both of God and man.
Exit dragged off by soldiers.
How now? Is he dead already? Or is it fear that makes him close his eyes? I'll open them.
No looks the pent-up lion or the wretch that trembles under his devouring paws. And so he walks, insulting o'er his prey, and so he comes to rend his limbs asunder. Ah, gentle Clifford, kill me with thy sword, and not with such a cruel, threatening look. Sweet Clifford, hear me speak before I die. I am too mean a subject for thy wrath. Be thou revenged on men, and let me live.
In vain thou speakest, poor boy. My father's blood hath stopped the passage where thy word should enter.
And let my father's blood open it again. He is a man, and, Clifford, cope with him.
Had I thy breathing here, their lives and thine were not revenge sufficient for me. No, if I digged up thy forefathers' graves and hung their rotten coffins up in chains, it could not slack mine ire nor ease my heart. The sight of any of the house of York is as a fury to torment my soul, until I root out their accursed line and leave not one alive, I live in hell. Therefore,
Oh, let me pray before I take my death. To thee I pray, sweet Clifford, pity me.
such pity as my rapier's point affords.
I never did thee harm. Why wilt thou slay me?
Thy father hath.
But 'twas ere I was born. Thou hast one son. For his sake pity me, lest in revenge thereof, sith God is just, he be as miserably slain as I. Ah, let me live in prison all my days, and when I give occasion of offense, then let me die. For now thou hast no cause.
No cause? Thy father slew my father, therefore die.
Di facient lodis summa sitis tuae.
Plantagenet, I come. Plantagenet, and this is thy son's blood cleaving to my blade, shall rust upon my weapon till thy blood, congealed with this, do make me wipe off both.
Exit. Alarm. Enter Richard, Duke of York.
The army of the queen hath got the field. My uncles both are slain in rescuing me, and all my followers to the eager foe turn back and fly, like ships before the wind, or lambs pursued by hunger-starved wolves. My sons, God knows what hath bechanced them, but this I know, they have demeaned themselves like men born to renown by life or death. 3 times did Richard make a lane to me, and thus thrice cried, courage, father, fight it out. And full as oft came Edward to my side, with purple falchion painted to the hilt in blood of those that had encountered him. And when the hardiest warriors did retire, Richard cried, charge, and give no foot of ground, and cried, a crown, or else a glorious tomb, a scepter, or an earthly sepulchre. With this we charged again, but out, alas. We budged again, as I have seen a swan with bootless labor swim against the tide and spend her strength with overwatching waves. Ah, hark, the fatal followers do pursue, and I am faint and cannot fly their fury. And were I strong, I would not shun their fury. The sands are numbered that makes up my life. Here I must stay, and here my life must end.
Enter Queen Margaret, Clifford, Northumberland, the young prince, and soldiers.
Come, bloody Clifford, rough Northumberland, I dare your quenchless fury to more rage. I am your butt, and I abide your shot.
Yield to our mercy, proud Plantagenet.
Aye, to such mercy as his ruthless arm with downright payments showed unto my father. Now Phaeton hath tumbled from his car and made an evening at the noontide prick.
My ashes as the phoenix may bring forth a bird that will revenge upon you all. And in that hope I throw mine eyes to heaven, scorning whate'er you can afflict me with. Why come you not? What? Multitudes in fear?
So cowards fight when they can fly no more. Fly no further, so doves do peck the falcon's piercing talons. So desperate thieves, all hopeless of their lives, breathe out invectives against thee, officers.
O Clifford, but bethink thee once again, and in thy thought o'errun my former time. And if thou canst for blushing view this face, and bite thy tongue, that slanders him with cowardice, whose frown hath made thee faint and fly ere this.
I will not bandy with thee word for word, but buckler with thee blows, twice 2 for 1.
Old valiant Clifford, for 1,000 causes I would prolong a while the traitor's life. Wrath makes him deaf. Speak thou, Northumberland.
Hold, Clifford, do not honor him so much to prick thy finger, thou would wound his heart. What valor were it when a cur doth grin for one to thrust his hand between his teeth, and when he might spurn him with his foot away? 'Twas war's prize to take all vantages, and 10 to 1 is no impeach of valor.
Aye, so strives the woodcock with the gin.
So doth the coney struggle in the net.
So triumph thieves upon their conquered booty. So true men yield with robbers so overmatched.
What would your grace have done unto him now?
Brave warriors Clifford and Northumberland, come, make him stand upon this molehill here, that brought at mountains with his outstretched arms, yet parted but the shadow with his hand. What? Was it you that would be England's king? Was it you that revelled in your parliament and made a preachment of your high descent? Where are your mess of sons to back you now? The wanton Edward and the lusty George. And where's that valiant crookback prodigy, Dickie, your boy, that with his grumbling voice was wont to cheer his dad in mutinies, or with the rest? Where's your darling Rutland? Look, York, I stained this napkin with the blood that valiant Clifford upon his rapier's point made issue from the bosom of the boy. And if thine eyes can water for his death, I give thee thus to dry thy cheeks withal. Alas, poor York, but that I hate thee deadly, I shall lament thy miserable state. I pray thee, grieve to make me merry, York. What hath thy fiery heart so parched thine entrails, that not a tear can fall for Rutland's death? What art thou, patient man? Thou shouldst be mad, and I, to make thee mad, do mock thee thus. Stamp, rave, and fret, that I may sing and dance. Thou wouldst be freed, I see, to make me sport. York cannot speak unless he wear a crown for York. Hold you his lords, bow low to him. Hold you his hands whilst I do set it on him. Ah, merry sir, now looks he like a king. Aye, this is he that took King Henry's chair, and this is he who was his adopted heir. And now is it that great Plantagenet is crowned so soon and broke his solemn oath? He crowned so soon and broke his solemn oath, and I methink me, you should not be king till our Henry had shook hands with death. And will you pale your head in Henry's glory, and rob his temples of the diadem now in his life against your holy oath? Oh, 'tis a fault too unpardonable. Off with the crown, and with the crown his head. And whilst we breathe, take time to do him dead.
That is my office for my father's sake.
Nay, stay, let's hear the orison he makes.
She wolf of France, but worse than wolves of France, whose tongue more poisons than the adder's tooth. How ill beseeming it is in thy sex to triumph like an Amazonian troll upon their woes whom fortune captivates, but that thy face is vizard-like, unchanging, made impudent with use of evil deeds. I would essay thee, proud queen, to make thee blush, to tell thee whence thou camest, of whom derived, were shame enough to shame thee, wert thou not shameless. Thy father bears the type of King of Naples, of both the Sicils and Jerusalem, yet not so wealthy as an English yeoman. Hath that poor monarch taught thee to insult? It needs not, nor it boots not thee, proud queen, unless the adage must be verified that beggars mounted run their horse to death. 'Tis beauty that doth oft make women proud. God, he knows thy share thereof is small. 'Tis virtue that doth make them most admired. The contrary doth make thee wondered at. 'Tis government that makes them seem divine. The want thereof makes thee abominable. Thou art as opposite to every good as the Antipodes are unto us, or as the south to the Septentrian. O tiger's heart wrapped in a woman's hide, how couldst thou drain the life blood of the child? To bid the father wipe his eyes with all, and yet be seen to bear a woman's face? Women are soft, mild, pitiful, and flexible. Thou stern, obdurate, flinty, rough, remorseless. Bidst thou me rage? Why, thou now hast thy wish. Wouldst have me weep? Why, now thou hast thy will, for raging wind blows up incessant showers, and when the rage allays, the rain begins. These tears are my sweet Rutland's obsequies, and every drop cries vengeance for his death against thee, fell Clifford, and thy false French woman.
Beshrew me, but his passions move me so that hardly can I check my eyes from tears.
That face of his the hungry cannibals would not have touched, would not have stained with blood, but you are more inhuman, more inexorable, 10 times more than tigers of Hyrenia. See, ruthless queen, a hapless father's tears. This cloth thou dipp'st in blood of my sweet boy, and I with tears do wash the blood away. Keep thou the napkin, and go boast of this. And if thou tellest the heavy story right, upon my soul the hearers will shed tears. Yet even my foes will shed fast-falling tears, and say, alas, it was a piteous deed. Here, take the crown, and with the crown my curse. And in thy need, such comfort come to thee as now I reap at thy too cruel hand. Hard-hearted Clifford, take me from the world. My soul to heaven, my blood upon your heads.
Had he been slaughterman to all my kin, I should not from my life but weep with him to see how inly sorrow gripes his soul.
What? Weeping right, my lord Northumberland? Think but upon the wrong he did us all, and that will quickly dry thy melting tears.
Here's for my oath. Here's for my father's death.
And here's not to right our gentle-hearted king.
Stabbing him.
Open the gate of mercy, gracious God. My soul flies through these wounds to seek thee out.
Off in his head and set it on York gate, so York may overlook the town of York.
Flourish, exulant. A march. Enter Edward, Richard, and their power.
I wonder how our princely father escaped, or whether he be escaped away or no from Clifford's and Northumberland's pursuit. Have he been tamed? We should have heard the news. Have he been slain? We should have heard the news. Or had he escaped? Methinks we should have heard the happy tidings of his good escape. How fares my brother? Why is he so sad?
I cannot joy until I be resolved. where our right valiant father is become. I saw him in the battle rage about, and watched him how he singled Clifford forth. Methought he bore him in the thickest troop, as doth a lion in a herd of meat, or as a bear encompassed round with dogs, or having pinched a few and made him cry, the rest stand all aloof and bark at him. So fared our father with his enemies. So fled his enemies, my warlike father. Methinks 'tis prize enough to be his son. See how the morning opes her golden gates, and takes her farewell of the glorious sun. How well resembles in the prime of youth, trimmed like a younker, pricing to his love.
Dazzle my eyes, or do I see 3 suns?
3 glorious suns, each one a perfect sun, not separated with the racking clouds, but severed in a pale, clear, shining sky. See, they join, embrace, and seem to kiss, as if they vowed some league inviolable. Now are they but one lamp, one light, one sun, in this the heaven figure some invent.
'Tis wondrous strange, the like yet never heard of. I think it cites us, brother, to the field that we, the sons of a brave Plantagenet, each one already blazoned by our means, should notwithstanding join our lights together and overshine the earth as this the world. Wherever it bows, henceforward will I bear upon my target 3 fair shining suns.
Nay, bear 3 daughters by your leave, I speak it. You love the breeder better than the male. Enter messenger, blowing. But what art thou, whose heavy looks foretell some dreadful story hanging on thy tongue?
Oh, that was a woeful looker on, wherein as the noble Duke of York was slain, your princely father and my loving lord.
Oh, speak no more, for I have heard too much.
Say how he died, for I will hear it all.
Environed he was with many foes, and stood against them as the hope of Troy, against the Greeks that would have entered Troy. But Hercules himself, it meant sealed odds and many strokes, though with a little axe, hews down and falls the hardest timbered oak. By many hands your father was subdued, but only slaughtered by the ireful arm of unrelenting Clifford, and the queen laughed in his face, who crowned the gracious Duke in high despite, laughed in his face, and when with grief he wept, the ruthless king gave him to dry his cheek a napkin steeped in the harmless blood of sweet young Rutland, by rough Clifford slain. And after many scorns and many foul taunts, they took his head, and on the gates of York they set the same. And there it doth remain, the saddest spectacle that e'er I viewed.
Sweet Duke of York, our prop to lean upon, now thou art gone. We have no staff, no stay. O Clifford, boisterous Clifford, thou hast slain the flower of Europe for his chivalry, and treacherously hast thou vanquished him, for hand to hand he would have vanquished thee. Now my soul's palace has become a prison. Would she break from hands that this my body might in the ground be closed up and rest, for never henceforth shall I joy again. Never, oh never shall I see more joy.
I cannot weep, for all my body's moisture scarce serves to quench my furnace burning heart, nor can my tongue unload my heart's great burden. For self same wind, that I should speak withal, is kindling coals that fires all my breast, and burns me up with flames that tears would quench. To weep is to make less the depth of grief. Tears, then, were babes, blows and revenge for me. Richard, I bear thy name. I'll venge thy death, or die renowned by attempting it.
His name, that valiant duke had left with thee. His dukedom and his chair with me is left.
Nay, if thou be the princely eagle's bird, show thy descent by gazing against the sun. For chair and dukedom, throne and kingdom, say, either that is thine, or else thou wert not his. March, enter Warwick, Marquis Montague, and their army.
How now, fair lords? What fare, what news abroad?
Great Lord of Warwick, if we should recount our baleful news, and at each word's deliverance stab poniards in our flesh till all were told, the words would add more anguish than the wounds. O valiant Lord, the Duke of York is slain.
O Warwick, that Plantagenet, which held thee dearly as his soul's redemption is by the stern Lord Clifford done to death.
10 days ago I drowned these news in tears, and now, to add more measure to your woes, I come to tell you, things hath then befallen. After the bloody fray at Wakefield fought, where your brave father breathed his latest gasp, tidings, as swiftly as the post could run, were brought me of your loss and his depart. I then in London, keeper of the king, mustered my soldiers, gathered flocks of friends, and very well appointed, as I thought, marched towards St. Albans to intercept the queen, bearing the king in my behalf along. For by my scouts I was advertised that she was coming with a full intent to dash our late decree in Parliament, touching King Henry's oath and your succession. Short tale to make, we at St. Albans met, our battles joined, and both sides fiercely fought. But whether 'twas the coldness of the king, who looked full gently of his warlike queen, that robbed my soldiers of their heated spleen, or whether 'twas report of her success, or more than common fear of Clifford's rigor, who thunders to his captives' blood and death, I cannot judge. But to conclude with truth, their weapons, like to lightning, came and went. Our soldiers, like the night owl's lazy flight, or like an idle thresher with a flail, fell gently down, and as if they struck their friends, I cheered them up with justice of our cause, with promise of high pay and great rewards. But all in vain. They had no heart to fight, and we in them no hope to win the day, so that we fled. The king unto the queen, Lord George your brother, Norfolk, and myself, in haste, post-haste, are come to join with you. For in the marches here we heard you were, making another head, to fight again.
Where's the Duke of Norfolk, gentle Warwick? And when came George from Burgundy to England?
Some 6 miles off the Duke is with the soldiers, and for your brother, he was lately sent from your kind aunt, Duchess of Burgundy, with aid of soldiers to this needful war.
'Twas odds, belike, when valiant Warwick fled. Oft have I heard his praises in pursuit, but ne'er till now his scandal of retire.
Nor now my scandal, Richard, dost thou hear? For thou shalt know, this strong right hand of mine can pluck the diadem from faint Henry's head, and wring the awful scepter from his wrist, where he is famous and as bold in war, as he is famed for mildness, peace, and prayer.
I know it well, Lord Warwick. Blame me not. 'Tis love I bear, thy glorious makes me squeal. But in the troublous time, what's to be done? Shall we go throw away our coats of steel and wrap our bodies in black mourning gowns? Nuremberg our Ave Marias with our beads? Or shall we, on the helmets of our foes, tell our devotion with revengeful arms? If for the last, say A, and to it, lords.
Why, therefore Warwick came to seek you out, and therefore comes my brother Montague. Attend me, lords. The proud, insulting queen with Clifford and the hot Northumberland, and of their feather many more proud birds have wrought the easy melting king like wax. He swore consent to your succession, his oath enrolled in the Parliament. And now to London all the crew are gone, to frustrate both his oath and what beside may make against the house of Lancaster. Their power, I think, is 30,000 strong. Now, with the help of Norfolk and myself, with all the friends that thou, brave Earl of March, amongst the loving Welshmen canst procure, will but amount to 25,000. Via, to London will we march amain, and once again bestride our foaming steeds, and once again cry charge upon our foes, but never once again turn back and fly.
Aye, now methinks I hear great Warwick speak. Ne'er may he live to see a sunshine day that cries, retire, if Warwick bid him stay.
Lord Warwick, on thy shoulder will I lean, and when thou failst, as God forbid the hour, must Edward fall, which peril heaven forfend.
No longer Earl of March, but Duke of York. The next degree is England's royal throne. The King of England shalt thou be proclaimed in every borough as we pass along, and he that throws not up his cap for joy shall for the fault make forfeit of his head. King Edward, valiant Richard, Montague, stay we no longer dreaming of renown, but sound the trumpets, and about our task.
Then Clifford, were thy heart as hard as steel, as thou hast shown in fealty by thy deeds, I come to pierce it, or to give thee mine.
Then strike up drums, God and St. George for us.
Enter a messenger.
How now? What news?
Duke of Norfolk sends you word by me. The Queen is coming with a puissant host, and craves your company for speedy counsel.
Why then at sorts, brave warriors. Let's away.
Zoids, flourish, enter King Henry, Queen Margaret, the Prince of Wales, Clifford, and Northumberland.
Welcome, my lord, to the brave town of York. Yonder's the head of that of thy arch enemy, that sought to be encompassed with your crown. Doth not the object cheer your hearts, my lords?
Aye, as the rocks cheer them that fear their wreck. To see this sight irks my very soul. Withhold revenge, dear God. 'Tis not my fault, nor wittingly have I infringed my vow.
My gracious liege, this too much lenity and harmful pity must be laid aside. To whom do lions cast their gentle looks? Not to the beasts that would usurp their den. Whose hand is it that the forest bear doth lick? Not his that spoils her young before her face. Who scapes the lurking serpent's mortal sting? Not he that sets his foot upon her back. The smallest worm will turn, being trodden on, and doves will peck in safeguard of their brood. Ambitious York did level at thy crown, thou smiling while he knit his angry brows. He but a duke would have his son a king, and raise his issue like a loving sire. Thou being a king, blessed with a goodly son, didst yield consent to disinherit him, which argued thee a most unloving father. Unreasonable creatures feed their young, and though man's face be fearful to their eyes, yet in protection of their tender ones, who hath not seen them even with those wings, which sometime they have used with fearful flight, make war with him that climbed unto their nest, offering their own lives in their young's defense. For shame, my liege, make them your precedent. Were it not pity that this goodly boy should lose his birthright by his father's fault, and long thereafter say unto his child, what my great-grandfather and grandsire got, my careless father fondly gave away. Ah, what a shame with this. Look on the boy, and let his manly face, which promiseth successful fortune, steel thy melting heart, to hold thine own and leave thine own with him.
Well hath Clifford played the orator, inferring arguments of mighty force. But Clifford, tell me, didst thou never hear that things ill-got had ever bad success? And happy always was it for that son, whose father for his hoarding went to hell? I leave my son my virtuous deeds behind, and would my father had left me no more. For all the rest is held at such a rate as brings 1,000-fold more care to keep than in possession any jot of pleasure. Ah, cousin York, would thy best friends did know how it doth grieve me that thy head is here.
My lord, cheer up. Our foes are nigh, and this soft courage makes your followers faint. You promised the knighthood to our forward son. Unsheath your sword and dub him presently. Edward, kneel down.
Edward Plantagenet, arise a knight, and learn this lesson. Draw thy sword in right.
My gracious father, by your kingly leave, I will draw it as a parent to the crown, and in that quarrel use it to the death.
Why, that is spoken like a toward prince.
That's your messenger. I'll take it. Royal commanders, be in readiness. For with a band of 30,000 men comes Warwick, backing of the Duke of York, and in the towns, as they do march along, proclaims him king, and many fly to him, durang your battle, for they are at hand.
I would your highness would depart the field. The queen hath best success when you are absent.
Aye, good my lord, and leave us to our fortune.
Why, that's my fortune too. Therefore I'll stay.
Meet with resolution, then, to fight.
My royal father, cheer these noble lords, and hearten those that fight in your defense. Unsheathe your sword, good father. Cry, Saint George!
Enter Edward, George, Richard, Warwick, Norfolk, Montague, and soldiers.
Now, perjured Henry, wilt thou kneel for grace and set thy diadem upon my head, or bide the mortal fortune of the field?
I go rate thy minions, proud insulting boy. Becomes it thee to be thus bold in terms before thy sovereign and thy lawful king?
I am his king, and he should bow his knee. I was adopted heir by his consent, since when his oath is broke, for as I hear, you that are king, though he do wear the crown, have caused him by a new act of parliament to blot out me and put his own son in.
And reason too. Who should succeed the father but the son?
Are you there, butcher? Oh, I cannot speak.
I, crookback, here I stand to answer thee, or any he, the proudest of thy sort.
'Twas you that killed young Rutland, was it not?
I, an old York, and yet not satisfied.
For God's sake, lords, give signal to the fight!
What sayest thou, Henry? Wilt thou yield the crown?
Why, how now, long-tongued Warwick? Dare you speak? When you and I met at St. Albans last, your legs did better service than your hands.
Then 'twas my turn to fly, and now 'tis thine.
You said so much before, and yet you fled.
'Twas not your valor, Clifford, drove me thence.
No, your manhood that does make you stay.
Northumberland, I hold thee reverently. Break off the parley, for scarce I can refrain the execution of my big swollen heart upon that Clifford, that cruel child killer.
Now I slew thy father. Call'st thou him a child?
I, like a dastard and a treacherous coward, as thou didst kill our tender brother Rutland. But ere sun settle, make thee curse the deed.
I've done with words, my lords, and hear me speak.
Defy them then, or else hold close thy lips.
I prithee give no limits to my tongue. I am a king, and privileged to speak.
My liege, the wound that bred this meeting here cannot be cured by words. Therefore, be still.
Then, executioner, unsheath thy sword. By him that made us all, I am resolved that Clifford's manhood lies upon his tongue.
Say, Henry, shall I have my right or no? 1,000 men have broke their fast today, that ne'er shall dine unless thou yield the crown.
If thou deny, their blood upon thy head. For York in justice puts his armor on.
That be right, which Warwick says is right. There is no wrong, but everything is right.
Whoever got thee, there thy mother stands. For well, I wot thou haste thy mother's tongue.
But thou art neither like thy sire nor dam, but like a fowl misshapen, stigmatic, marked by the destinies to be avoided, as venom toads or lizards' dreadful stings.
Iron of Naples hid with English guilt. I, whose father bears the title of a king, as if a channel should be called the sea. Shamest thou not, knowing whence thou art extraught, to let thy tongue detect thy base-born heart?
A wisp of straw will worth 1,000 crowns to make the shameless call it know itself. Helen of Greece was fairer far than thou, although thy husband may be penniless. And there was Agamemnon's brother wronged by that false woman as this king by thee. His father reveled in the heart of France and tamed the king and made the dolphin stoop. And had he matched according to his state, he might have kept that glory to this day. But when he took a beggar to his bed and graced thy poor sire with his bridal day, even then that sunshine brewed a shower for him that washed his father's fortunes forth for France and heaped sedition on his crown at home. For what had broached this tumblet but thy pride? Hast thou been meek, our title still had slept, and we, in pity of the gentle king, had slipped our claim until another age.
But when we saw our sunshine made thy spring, and that thy summer bred us no increase, we set the axe to thy usurping root, and though the edge hath somehow hit ourselves, you know thou, since we have begun to strike, we'll never leave till we have hewn thee down, or bathe thy growing with our heated bloods.
And in this resolution I defy thee, not willing any longer conference, since thou deniest the gentle king to speak. Sound trumpets, let our bloody colors wave, in either victory or else a grave.
Stay, Edward.
No, wrangling woman, we'll no longer stay. These words will cost 10,000 lives this day.
Excellence. Alarm excursions, enter Warwick.
For spent with toil, as rumors with a race, I lay me down a little while to breathe. For strokes received and many blows repaid have robbed my strong-knit sinews of their strength. And spite of spite, needs must I rest a while.
Enter Edward running.
Smile, gentle heaven, or strike, ungentle death, for this world frowns and Edward's sun is clouded.
How now, my lord? What hap? What hope of good?
Brandon?
Oh, I just
Enter George. Sorry.
I just lost my place. Where am I? What line?
9.
9?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, I flipped the book. Can somebody else take it? I'm
Yeah, I'll take it. Our hap is lost, our hope but sad despair. Our ranks are broke and ruin follows us. What counsel give you? Whether shall we fly? Bootless is flight. They follow us with wings, and weak we are, and cannot shun pursuit.
Enter Richard. Ah, Warwick, why hast thou withdrawn thyself? Thy brother's blood the thirsty earth hath drunk, broached with the steely point of Clifford's lance, and in the very pangs of death he cried, like to a dismal clangor heard from far. Warwick, revenge, brother, revenge my death, though underneath the belly of their steeds that strained their that fetlocks in his smoking blood, the noble gentleman gave up the ghost.
And let the earth be drunken with our blood. I'll kill my horse because I will not fly. Why stand we like soft-hearted women here, wailing our losses, whilst the foe doth rage, and look upon as if the tragedy were played in jest by counterfeiting actors? Here on my knee I vow to God above, I'll never pause again, never stand still, till either death hath closed these eyes of mine, or fortune given me measure of revenge.
Oh, Warwick, I do bend my knee with thine, and this vow do chain my soul to thine. And ere my knee rise from the earth's cold face, I throw my hands, my eyes, my heart to thee. Thou set her up and pluck it down of kings, beseeching thee. It with thy will it stands that to my foes this body must be prey. Yet that thy brazen gates of heaven may open, give sweet passage to my sinful soul. Now, lords, take leave until we meet again, wherever it be in heaven or on earth.
Brother, give me thy hand, and gentle Warwick, let me embrace thee in my weary arms. I, that did never weep, now melt with woe, that winter should cut off our springtime so.
Away, away. Once more, sweet lords, farewell.
Yeah, let us all together to our troops and give them leave to fly that will not stay, and call them pillars that will stand to us. And if we thrive, promise them such rewards as victors wear at the Olympian Games. This may plant courage in their quailing breasts, for yet is hope of life and victory. For slow no longer, make we hints amain.
Exeunt. Enter Richard and Clifford. Now, Clifford, I have singled thee alone. Suppose this arm is for the Duke of York, and this for Rutland, both bound to revenge. Wert thou environed with a brazen wall?
Now, Richard, I am with thee here alone. This is the hand that stabbed thy father York, and this is the hand that slew thy brother Rutland, and here's the heart that triumphs in their death, and cheers these hands that slew thy sire and brother, to execute the like upon thyself, and so have at thee.
They fight, war comes, Clifford flies. Nay, Warwick, single out some other chase, for I myself will hunt this wolf to death. Excellent. Alarm, enter King Henry alone.
This battle fares like to the morning's war, when dying clouds contend with growing light, What time the shepherd, blowing of his nails, can neither call it perfect day nor night. Now sways it this way like a mighty sea, forced by the tide to combat with the wind. Now sways it that way like the self-same sea, forced to retire by fury of the wind. Sometime the flood prevails, and then the wind, now one the better, then another best, both tugging to be victors, breast to breast. Yet neither conqueror nor conquered, so is the equal poise of this fell war. Here on this molehill will I sit me down. To whom God will, there be the victory. For Margaret, my queen, and Clifford too, have chid me from the battle, swearing both they prosper best of all when I am thence. But I were dead, if God's good will were so. But what is in this world but grief and woe? God, methinks it were a happy life to be no better than a homely swain, to sit upon a hill as I do now, to carve out dials quaintly, point by point, thereby to see the minutes how they run. How many makes the hour full complete? How many hours bring about the day? How many days will finish up the year? How many years a mortal man may live? When this is known, then to divide the times. So many hours must I tend my flock. So many hours must I take my rest. So many hours must I contemplate. So many hours must I sport myself. So many days my ewes have been with young. So many weeks ere the poor fools will eat. So many years ere I shall shear the fleece. So many years ere I shall shear the fleece. So minutes, hours, days, months, and years, passed over to the end they were created, would bring white hairs unto a quiet grave. Ah, what a life were this! How sweet, how lovely! Gives not the hawthorn bush a sweeter shade to shepherds looking on their silly sheep than doth a rich embroidered canopy to kings that fear their subjects' treachery? Oh, yes, it doth. 1,000-fold it doth. And to conclude, the shepherd's homely curds, his cold thin drink out of his leather bottle, his wonted sleep under a fresh tree's shade, all which secure and sweetly he enjoys, is far beyond a prince's delicates. His viands sparkling in a golden cup, his body couched in a curious bed, when care, mistrust, and treason waits on him.
Alarm, enter a son that hath killed his father with the body in his arms. Ill blows the wind that profits nobody. This man whom hand to hand I slew in fight may be possessed with some store of crowns, and I, that haply take them from him now, may yet ere night, yet both my life and them to some man else. This dead man doth me. Who's this? Oh God. It is my father's face, whom in this conflict I unawares have killed. Oh, heavy times begetting such events. From London by the king was I pressed forth. My father, being the Earl of Warwick's man, came on the part of York, pressed by his master, and I, who at his hands received my life, have my hands of life bereaved him. Pardon me, God, I knew not what I did, and pardon, Father, for I knew not thee. My tears shall wipe away these bloody marks, and no more words, they have flown their fill.
Oh, pity of spectacle. Oh, bloody times. Whilst lions war and battle for their dens, poor harmless lambs abide their enmity. Weep, wretched man. I'll aid thee tear for tear, and let our hearts and eyes like civil war, be blind with tears and break, or charged with grief.
Enter a father that hath killed his son with the body in his arms.
Thou that so stoutly hath resisted me, give me thy gold, if thou hast any gold, for I have bought it with 100 blows. But let me see. This Arthur's face? Oh, no, no, no. It is mine only son. Oh, boy, if any life be left in thee, throw up thine eyes. See what showers arise, blonde with the windy tempest of my heart, upon thy wounds that kills mine eyes and heart. Oh, pity God this miserable age, that what stratagems, how fell, how butchery, erroneous, mutinous, and unnatural this deadly quarrel daily death begat. Oh, boy, thy father gave thee life too soon, and hath bereft thee of thy life too late.
Woe above woe, grief more than common grief. Oh, that my death would stay these ruthful deeds. Oh, pity, pity, gentle heaven, pity. Red rose and the white are on his face, the fatal colors of our striding houses. The one his purple blood right well resembles, the other his pale cheeks methinks presenteth. Wither one rose and let the other flourish. If you contend, 1,000 lives must wither.
How will my mother, for a father's death, take on with me and never be satisfied?
Oh, will my wife for a slaughter of our son shed seas of tears and never be satisfied?
How will the country for these woeful chances misthink the king and not be satisfied?
Was ever son so rude, a father's death?
Was ever father so bemoaned his son?
Was ever king so grieved for subjects' woe? Much is your sorrow, mine 10 times so much.
I'll bear thee hence, where I may weep my fill. Exit with body.
These arms of mine shall be thy winding sheet. My heart, sweet boy, shall be thy sepulture. Far from my heart thine image ne'er shall go. My sighing breast shall be thy funeral bell, and so obsequious will thy father be, in for the last of thee, having no more, as Priam was for all his valiant sons. I'll bear thee hence, and let them fight at will, for I have murdered where I should not kill.
Exit with the body.
Sad-hearted men, much overgone with care. Here sits a king more woeful than you are.
Enter Queen Margaret the Prince and Exeter.
Fly, father, fly, for all your friends are fled, and Warwick rages like a chafed bull. Away, for death doth hold us in pursuit.
Mount you, my lord, towards Berwick post amain, Edward and Richard like a brace of greyhounds, having the fearful flying hare in sight, with fiery eyes sparkling for very wrath, and bloody and grasped in their ireful hands, are at our backs, and therefore hence amain.
Away for vengeance comes along with them. Nay, stay not to expostulate, make speed, or else come after all the way before.
Nay, take me with thee, good sweet Exeter. Not that I fear to stay, but love to go whither the queen intends. Forward, away!
Exeunt. Loud alarm, enter Clifford, wounded with an arrow in his neck.
Here burns my candle out. Aye, here it dies, which while it lasted gave King Henry light. O Lancaster, I fear thy overthrow more than my body's parting with my soul. My love and fear glued many friends to thee, and now I fall, thy tough commixtures melts, impairing Henry, strengthening misproud York, and whither fly thy gnats but to the sun? And who shines now but Henry's enemies? O Phoebus, hast thou never given consent that Phaeton could check thy fiery steeds? Thy burning car never had scorched the earth, and Henry hadst thou swayed as kings should do, or as thy father and his father did, giving no ground unto the house of York. They never then had sprung like summer flies. I and 10,000 in this luckless realm had left no mourning widows for our death, and thou this day hadst kept thy chair in peace. For what doth cherish weeds but gentle air? And what makes robbers bold but too much lenity? Fruitless are plaints and cureless are my wounds. No way to fly, no strength to hold out flight. The foe is merciless and will not pity, for at their hands I have deserved no pity. The air hath got into my deadly wounds, and much effuse of blood doth make me faint. Come, York, and Richard, Warwick, and the rest. I stabbed your father's bosom, split my breast.
He faints. Alarm and retreat enter Edward, George, Richard, Montague, Warwick, and soldiers.
Now, brave we lords, good fortune bids us pause and smooth the frowns of war with peaceful looks. Some troops pursued the bloody-minded queen that led calm Henry, though he were a king, asked off a cell filled with a fretting gust, command and argosy to stem the waves. But thank you, lords, that Clifford fled with them?
No, 'tis impossible he should escape. For though before his face I speak the words, your brother Richard marked him for the grave, and wheresoever he is, he's surely dead.
Ah,
Clifford, whose soul is that which takes her heavy leave? A deadly groan, like life and death departing. See who it is.
See who it is, and now the battle's ended. If friend or foe, let him be gently used.
Revoke that doom of mercy for 'tis Clifford, who, not contented with he, lopped the branch in hewing Rutland, and his leaves put forth, but sent his murdering knife unto the root, from whence that tender spray did sweetly spring. I mean our princely father, Duke of York.
From off the gates of York, fetch down the head, your father's head, which Clifford placed there. Instead whereof, let this supply the room. Measure for measure must be answered.
Bring forth that fatal screech owl to our house, that nothing sung but death to us and ours. Now death shall stop his dismal threatening sound, and his ill-boding tongue no more shall speak.
I think his understanding is bereft. Speak, Clifford. Dost thou know who speaks to thee? Dark, cloudy death o'ershades his beams of life, and he nor sees nor hears us what we say.
Oh, what he did, and so perhaps he doth his policy to counterfeit, because he would avoid such bitter taunts, which in the time of death he gave our father.
If so, thou thinkest, vex him with eager words.
Clifford, ask mercy and obtain no grace.
Clifford, repent in bootless penitence.
Clifford, devise excuses for thy faults.
While we devise fell tortures for thy faults.
Thou didst love York, and I am son to York.
Thou piteous Rutland, I will pity thee.
Where's Captain Margaret to finch you now?
May mock thee, Clifford. Swear as thou wast wont.
What? Not an oath? Nay, then the world goes hard, when Clifford cannot spark his friends on an oath. I know by that he's dead, and by my soul, if this right hand would buy but 2 hours' life, that I, in all despite, might rail at him. This hand should chop it off, and with the issuing blood, Strife, the villain, whose unstaunched thirst young Richard could not satisfy.
Aye, but he's dead. Off with the traitor's head, and rear it in the place your father stands, and now to London with triumphant march, there to be crowned England's royal king, from whence shall Warwick cut the seat of France, and ask the Lady Bona for thy queen. So shalt thou sinew both these lands together, and having France thy friend, thou shalt not dread the scattered foe that hopes to rise again. For though they cannot greatly sting to hurt, yet look to have them buzz to offend thine ears. First will I see thy coronation, and then to Brittany I'll cross the sea, to effect this marriage, so it please my lord.
Even as thou wilt, sweet Warwick, let it be. For in thy shoulder do I build my seat, and never will I undertake the thing. Wherein thy counsel and consent is wanting, Richard, I will create thee Duke of Gloucester, and George of Clarence. Warwick as ourselves shall do and undo as him pleaseth best.
Let me be Duke of Clarence, George of Gloucester, for Gloucester's dukedom is too ominous.
Tut, that's a foolish observation. Richard, be Duke of Gloucester. Now to London, to see these honors in procession.
Enter the 2 keepers with crossbows in their hands.
Under this thick-grown brake we shroud ourselves, for through this lawn anon the day will come. And in this comfort will we make our stand, calling the principle of all the dear.
I'll stay above the hill so both may shoot.
That cannot be. The noise of thy crossbow will scare the herd, and so my shoot is lost. Here stand we both, and then we at the best, and for the time shall not seem tedious. I'll tell thee what befell me on that day, in the self place where now we mean to stand.
Here comes a man. Let's stay till he be past.
From Scotland am I stolen, even of pure love, to greet mine own land with my wishful sight. No, Harry, Harry, 'tis no land of thine. Thy place is filled, thy scepter wrung from thee. Thy balm washeth off wherewith thou wast anointed. No bending knee will call thee Caesar now. No humble suitors press to speak for right. No, not a man comes for redress of thee. How can I help them, and not myself?
Aye, here's a deer whose skins a keeper's feed. This is the corn-damned king that seized upon him.
Let me embrace the sour adversaries, for wise men say it is the wisest course.
Why linger we? Let us lay hands upon him.
Forbear while we'll hear a little more.
My queen and son are gone to France for aid, and, as I hear, the great commanding Warwick is thither gone to crave the French king's sister to wife for Edward. If this news be true, poor queen and son, your labor is but lost, for Warwick is a subtle orator, and Lewis a prince soon won with moving words. By this account, then, Margaret may win him, for she's a woman to be pitied much. Her sighs will make a battery in his breast. Her tears will pierce into a marble heart. The tiger will be mild while she doth mourn, and Nero will be tainted with remorse to hear and see her plaints, her brinish tears. Ah, but she's come to beg, Warwick to give. She on his left side craving aid for Henry, he on his right asking a wife for Edward. She weeps and says her Henry is deposed. He smiles and says his Edward is installed. That she, poor wretch for grief, can speak no more, whilst Warwick tells his title, smooths the wrong, inferreth arguments of mighty strength, and in conclusion wings the king from her, with promise of his sister, and what else, to strengthen and support King Edward's place. O Margaret, thus 'twill be, and thou, poor soul, art then forsaken, as thou wentst forlorn.
Say, what art thou that talk'st of kings and queens?
More than I seem, and less than I was born to. A man at least, for less I should not be, and men may talk of kings, and why not I?
Aye, but thou talk'st as if thou wert a king.
Why, so I am in mind, and that's enough.
But if thou be a king, where is thy crown?
My crown is in my heart, not on my head, not decked with diamonds and Indian stones, nor to be seen. My crown is called content. A crown it is that seldom kings enjoy.
Well, if you be a king crowned with content, you're crowned content, and you must be contented to go along with us. For as we think, you are the King King Edward hath deposed, and we his subjects, sworn in all allegiance, will apprehend you as his enemy.
But did you never swear and break an oath?
No, never such an oath, nor will not now.
Where did you dwell when I was King of England?
Here in this country, where we now remain.
I was anointed king at 9 months old. My father and my grandfather were kings, and you were sworn true subjects unto me. And tell me then, have you not broke your oaths?
No, for we were subjects, but while you were king.
Why? Am I dead? Do I not breathe a man? Ah, simple men, you know not what you swear. Look as I blow this feather from my face, and as the air blows it to me again, obeying with my wind when I do blow, and yielding to another when it blows, commanded always by the greater gust. Such is the lightness of you common men. But do not break your oaths, for of that sin my mild entreaty shall not make you guilty. Go where you will, the king shall be commanded, and be you kings, command, and I'll obey.
We are true subjects to the king, King Edward.
So would you be again to Henry, if he were seated as King Edward is?
We charge you in God's name and the king's to go with us unto the officers.
In God's name, lead. Your king's name be obeyed. And what God will, let your king perform. And what he will, I humbly yield unto.
Exeunt enter King Edward, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, George, Duke of Clarence, and Lady Elizabeth Grey.
Brother of Gloucester, at St. Albans Field, this lady's husband, Sir Richard Grey, was slain. his land then seized on by the conqueror. Her suit is now to repossess those lands, which we in justice cannot well deny, because in quarrel of the House of York, the worthy gentleman did lose his life.
Your Highness shall do well to grant her suit. It were dishonor to deny it her.
It were no less, but yet I'll make a pause.
Yea, is it so? I see the lady hath a thing to grant before the king will grant her humble suit. Rana?
He knows the game. How true he keeps the wind.
Silence.
Widow, we will consider of your suit and come some other time to know our mind.
Right, gracious lord, I cannot brook delay. May it please your highness to resolve me now, and what your pleasure is shall satisfy me.
Aye, widow. Then I'll warrant you all your lands, and if what pleases him shall pleasure you, by closer or good faith, you'll catch a clap.
I fear her not unless she chance to fall.
Marry, God's forbid, for he'll take vantages.
How many children hast thou, widow? Tell me.
I think he means to make a child of her.
Nay, whip me then. Whip me then. He'll rather give her 2.
3, my most gracious lord.
You shall have 4, and you'll be ruled by him.
'Twere a pity they should lose their father's lands.
Be pitiful, dread lord, and grant it then.
Lords, give us leave. I'll try this widow's wit.
Aye, good leave have you, for you will have leave. Till youth take leave and leave you to the crutch.
Now tell me, ma'am, do you love your children?
Aye, full as dearly as I love myself.
And would you not do much to do them good?
To do them good, I would sustain much harm.
Then get your husband lands to do them good.
Therefore I came unto your majesty.
I'll tell you how these lands are to be got.
So shall you bind me to your highness's service.
What service wilt thou do me if I get them?
What you command that rests in me to do.
But you will take exceptions to my boon.
No, gracious lord, except I cannot do it.
Aye, but thou canst do what I mean to ask.
Why then I will do what your grace commands.
It plies her hard.
Plies her heart, and much rain wears the marble.
As red as fire. Nay then, her wax must melt.
Why stops my lord? Shall I not hear my task?
It needs a task. 'Tis but to love a king.
Well, that's soon performed, because I am a subject.
Why, then thy husband's lands I freely give thee.
I take my leave with many thousand thanks.
The match is made. She seals it with a courtesy.
But they did. 'Tis the fruits of love I mean.
The fruits of love I mean, my loving liege.
Aye, but I fear me. In another sense, what love thinkst thou I sue so much to get?
My love till death, my humble thanks, my prayers. That love which virtue begs and virtue grants.
No, but by my troth, I did not mean such love.
Why then you mean not as I thought you did.
But now you partly may perceive my mind.
My mind will never grant what I perceive your highness aims at, if I aim aright.
To tell thee plain, I am to lie with thee.
To tell thee plain, I had rather lie in prison.
Why, then thou shalt not have thy husband's lands.
Why then, mine honesty shall be my dower, for by that loss I will not purchase them.
Therein thou wrongs thy children mightily.
Herein your highness wrongs both them and me. But, mighty lord, this merry inclination accords not with the sadness of my suit. Please you dismiss me, either with aye or no.
Aye, if thou wilt say aye to my request. No, if thou dost say no to my demand.
Then no, my lord, my suit is at an end.
The widow likes him not. She knits her brows.
He is the bluntest wooer in Christendom.
Her looks doth argue her replete with modesty. Her words doth show her wit incomparable. All her perfections challenge sovereignty. One way or the other, she is fit for a king, and she shall be my love or else my queen. Say that King Edward take thee for his queen?
'Tis better said than done, my gracious lord. I am a subject fit to jest withal, but far unfit to be a sovereign.
Sweet widow, by my state I swear to thee, I speak no more than what my soul intends, and that is to enjoy thee for my love.
Well, that is more than I will yield unto. I know I am too mean to be your queen, and yet too good to be your concubine.
You cavil, widow, I did mean my queen.
'Twill grieve your grace my son should call you father.
No more than when my daughters call thee mother. Thou art a widow, and thou hast some children, and by God's mother, I, being but a bachelor, have other son. Why, 'tis a happy thing to be the father unto many sons. Answer no more, for thou shalt be my queen.
The ghostly father now hath done his shrift.
When it was made a shriver, 'twas for shift.
Brothers, you muse what chat you have had.
The widow likes it not, for she looks vexed.
You think it strange if I should marry her?
To who, my lord?
Why, Clarence, to myself.
That would be 10 days' wonder at the least.
That's the day longer than a wonder lasts.
By so much is the wonder in extremes.
Well, jest on, brothers. I can't tell you both her suit is granted for her husband's land.
Enter nobleman.
My gracious lord, Henry, your foe is taken and brought your prisoner to your palace gate.
See that he be conveyed unto the tower. And go we, brothers, to the man that took him to question of his apprehension. Widow, go you along. Lords, use her honorably.
Done all but Richard. I, Edward, will use women honorably. Would he were wasted, marrow, bones, and all that from his loins no hopeful branch may spring to cross me from the golden time I look for. And yet, heaven, between my soul's desire and me, the lustful Edward, title buried in Clarence, Henry, and his young son Edward, and all the unlooked for issue in their bodies, to take their rooms ere I can plant myself a cold premeditation for my purpose. Why then do I but dream on sovereignty, like one that stands upon a promontory and spies a far off shore where he would tread, wishing his foot were equal with his eye, and chides the sea that saunters him from thence, saying he'll laid it dry to have his way. So do I wish the crown being so far off, and so I chide the means that keeps me from it, and so I say I'll cut the causes off. Flattering me with impossibilities, my eye is too quick, my heart's o'erweens too much, unless my hand and strength could equal them. Well, Say there is no kingdom then for Richard. What other pleasure can the world afford? I'll make my heaven in a lady's lips, and deck my body in gay ornaments, and which sweet ladies with my words and looks, oh, miserable thought, are more unlikely than to accomplish 20 golden crowns. Why, love forswore in me my mother's womb, and for I should not deal in her soft laws, she did corrupt frail nature with some bribe to shrink mine arm up like a withered shrub, to make an envious mountain on my back, where sits deformity to mock my body, to shape my legs of an unequal size, to disproportion me in every part, like in chaos or unlicked bear whelp that carries no impression like the dam. And am I then a man to be beloved? Oh, monstrous fault to harbor such a thought. Then, since this earth affords no joy to me, but to command, to check, to o'erbear such as are better person than myself, I'll make my heaven to dream upon the crown, and whilst I live to count this world but tell until my mishap trunk that bears the head be round, impaled with a glorious crown, and yet I know not how to get the crown, for many lives stand between me and home, and I, like one lost in a thorny wood, that rents the thorns and is rent with the thorns, seeking a way and straying from the way, not knowing how to find the open air, but toiling desperately to find it out, torment myself to catch the English crown. And from that torrent, I'll free myself. Oh, Hugh, by the way, by the way, sorry again. But toiling desperately to find it out, torment myself to catch the English crown, and from that torment, I will free myself. Or hew my way out with a bloody axe. Or I can smile, and murder whilst I smile, and cry content to that grieves my heart, and wet my cheeks with artificial tears, and frame my face with to all occasions. I'll drown more sailors than the mermaid shall. I'll slay more gazers than the Balsamic. I'll play the orator as well as Nestor, deceive more slyly than Ulysses could, and like a Simon, take another Troy. I can add colors to the chameleon, change shapes with Proteus for advantages, and set the murderous Machiavel to school. Can I do this and cannot get a crown? Were it further off, I'll pluck it down. Exit. Enter Louis, King of France, his sister, Mona, his admiral called Bourbon, Prince Edward, Queen Margaret, and the Earl of Oxford. Louis sits and rises up again.
Fair Queen of England, worthy Margaret, sit down with us. It ill befits thy state and birth that thou shouldst stand while Louis doth sit.
No, mighty King of France, now Margaret must strike her sail and learn a while to serve. Where kings command, I must confess, great Albion's king in former golden days. But now mischance hath trod my title down, and with dishonor laid me on the ground, where I must take like seat unto my fortune, and to my humble seat inform myself.
Why, say, fair queen, whence springs this deep despair?
Oh, from such a cause as fills mine eyes with tears and stops my tongue, while heart is drowned in cares.
But whate'er it be thou still like thyself, and sit thee by our side. Yield not thy neck to fortune's yoke, but let thy dauntless mind still ride in triumph over all mischance. Be plain, Queen Margaret, and tell thy grief. It shall be eased if France can yield relief.
Oh, those gracious words can revive my drooping thoughts, and give my tongue-tied sorrows leave to speak. And therefore, be it known, noble Louis, that Henry, sole possessor of my love, is of a king become a banished man, and forced to live in Scotland a forlorn, while proud, ambitious Edward, Duke of York, usurps the regal title and the seat of England's true anointed lawful king. This is the cause that I, poor Margaret, with this my son, Prince Edward, Henry's heir, am come to crave thy just and lawful aid, and come to crave thy just and lawful aid. And if thy fail us, all our hope is done. Scotland hath will to help, but cannot help. Our people and our peers are both misled. Our treasure seized, our soldiers put to flight, and as thou seest, ourselves in heavy plight.
The renowned queen, with patience calms the storm, while we bethink a means to break it off.
The more we stay, the stronger grows our foe.
The more I stay, the more I'll succor thee.
Oh, but in patience waiteth on true sorrow. And see, here comes the breeder of our sorrow.
What's he approaches boldly to our presence?
Our Earl of Warwick, Edward's greatest friend.
Welcome, brave Warwick. What brings thee to France?
Oh, now begins a second storm to rise, for this is he that moves both wind and tide.
From worthy England, King of Albion, my lord and sovereign, and thy vowed friend, I come in kindness and unfeigned love, first to do greetings to thy royal person, and then to crave a league of amity, and lastly, to confirm that amity with a nuptial knot, if thou vouchsafe to grant that virtuous lady Bona, thy fair sister, to England's king in lawful marriage.
If that go forward, Henry's hope is done.
And gracious madam, in our king's behalf, I commanded, with your leave and favor, humbly to kiss your hand, and with my tongue to tell the passion of my sovereign's heart, where fame, late entering to his heedful ears, hath placed thy beauty's image and thy virtue.
Oh, King Louis and Lady Bona, hear me speak before you answer Warwick. His demand springs not from Edward's well-meant, honest love, but from deceit bred by necessity. For how can tyrants safely govern home unless abroad they purchase great alliance? To prove him tyrant, this reason may suffice, that Henry liveth still, but were he dead, yet here Prince Edward stands, King Henry's son. Look, therefore, Louis, that by thy league and marriage thou draw not on thy danger and dishonor. For though usurpest away the rule a while, yet heavens are just, and time surpasseth Sir Bethet wrongs.
Curious, Margaret.
And why not queen?
Because thy father Henry did usurp, and thou no more are prince than she is queen.
Then Warwick disannuls great John of Gaunt, which did subdue the greatest part of Spain. And after John of Gaunt, Henry IV, whose wisdom was a mirror to the wisest, and after that wise prince Henry V, who by his prowess conquered all France. From these our Henry lineally descends.
Oxford, how haps it in this smooth discourse you told not how Henry VI hath lost all that which Henry V hath gotten? Methinks these peers of France should smile at that. But for the rest, you tell a pedigree of 62 years. A silly time to make prescription for a kingdom's worth.
Why, Warwick, canst thou speak against thy liege, whom thou obeyedst 36 years, and not bewray thy treason with a blush?
Can Oxford, that did ever fence the right, now buckler falsehood with a pedigree? For shame. Leave Henry and call Edward king.
Call him my king, by whose injurious doom my elder brother, the Lord Aubrevere, was done to death? And more than so, my father, even in the downfall of his mellowed years, when nature brought him to the door of death? No, Warwick, no. While life upholds this arm upholds the house of Lancaster.
And I the house of York.
Queen Margaret, to Prince Edward and Oxford, vouchsafe at our request to stand aside while I use further conference with Warwick.
Heavens grant that Warwick's words bewitch him not.
Now, Warwick, tell me, even upon thy conscience, is Edward your true king? For I were loth to link with him that were not lawful chosen.
Thereon I pawn my credit and mine honor.
But is he gracious in the people's eye?
The more that Henry was unfortunate.
Then further, all dissembling set aside, tell me for truth the measure of his love unto our sister Bona.
Such it seems as may beseem a monarch like himself. Myself have often heard him say and swear that this his love was an eternal plant, whereof the root was fixed in virtue's ground, the leaves and fruit maintained with beauty's sun, exempt from envy, but not from disdain, unless the Lady Bona quit his pain.
Now, sister, let us hear your firm resolve.
Is Lady Bona next?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just scrolling down. Yeah, okay. Your grant or your denial shall be mine. Yet I confess that often ere this day, when I have heard your king's desert recounted, mine ear hath tempted judgment to desire.
Then Warwick thus, our sister shall be Edward's, and now forthwith shall articles be drawn touching the jointure that your king must make, which with her dowry shall be counterpoised. Draw near, Queen Margaret, and be a witness that Bona shall be wife to the English king.
To Edward, but not to the English king.
The deceitful Warwick. It was thy device by this alliance to make void my suit. Before thy coming, Lewis was Henry's friend.
And still is friend to him and Margaret. But if your title to the crown be weak, as may appear by Edward's good success, then 'tis but reason I will be released from giving aid which late I promised. Yet shall you have all kindness at my hand, that your estate requires and mine can yield.
Henry now lives in Scotland at his ease, where having nothing, nothing can he lose. And as for you yourself, our quondam queen, you have a father able to maintain you, and better 'twere you troubled him than France.
Peace, impudent and shameless Warwick, proud setter up and puller down of kings. I will not hence till my talk and tears both full of truth. I made King Lewis behold thy sly conveyance and thy lord's false love, for both of you are birds of self-same feather.
And flowing horn within.
Warwick, this is some post to us or thee.
Enter the post.
My Lord Ambassador, these letters are for you, sent from your brother Marquis Montague. These from our king unto your majesty. And madam, these for you, from whom I know not.
I like it well that our fair queen and mistress smiles at her news, while Warwick frowns at his.
Nay, mark how Lewis stamps as though you were nettled. I hope all's for the best.
Warwick, what are thy news? And yours, fair queen?
Mine, such as my heart, with unhoped joys.
Mine, full of sorrows and heart's discontent.
What, has your king married the Lady Grey, and now to soothe your forgery and his sends me a paper to persuade me patience? Is this the alliance that he seeks with France? Dare he presume to scorn us in this manner?
I told your majesty as much before. This proveth Edward's love and Warwick's honesty.
King Louis, I here protest in sight of heaven, and by the hope I have of heavenly bliss, that I am clear from this misdeed of Edward's. No more my king, for he dishonors me, but most himself, if he could see his shame. Did I forget that by the house of York my father came untimely to his death? Did I let pass the abuse done to my niece? Did I impale him with the regal crown? Did I put Henry from his native right? And am I guarded at the least of shame? Shame on himself? For my desert is honor, and to repair my honor lost for him, I here renounce him and return to Henry. My noble queen, let former grudges pass, and henceforth I am thy true servitor. I will revenge his wrong to Lady Bona, and replant Henry in his former state.
Warwick, these words have turned my hate to love, and I forgive and quite forget old faults. Enjoy that thou becomest King Henry's friend.
So much his friend I, his unfeigned friend, that if King Louis vouchsafe to furnish us with some few bands of chosen soldiers, I'll undertake to land them on our coast and force the tyrant from his seat by war. 'Tis not his new-made bride shall succor him. And as for Clarence, as my letters tell me, he's very likely now to fall from him, for matching more from wanton lust than honor, or than for strength and safety of our country.
Dear brother, how shall Bona be revenged by thy help to this distressed queen?
Renowned prince, how shall poor Henry live unless thou rescue him from foul despair?
My quarrel and this English queen's are one.
And mine, fair Lady Bona, joins with yours.
And mine with hers, and thine and Margaret's. Therefore at last I firmly am resolved you shall have aid.
Let me give some humble thanks for all at once.
Then England's messenger, return in post and tell false Edward, thy supposed king, that Louis of France is sending over maskers to revel it with him and his new bride. Thou seest what's past. Go fear thy king withal.
Tell him in hope he'll prove a widower shortly. I'll wear the pillow for garland for his sake.
Tell him my mourning weeds are laid aside, and I am ready to put armor on.
Tell him from me that he hath done me wrong, and therefore I'll uncrown him ere it be long. There's thy reward, be gone.
But Warwick, thou in Oxford, with 5,000 men shall cross the seas and bid false Edward battle. And as occasion serves, this noble queen and prince shall follow with a fresh supply. Yet ere thou go, but answer me one doubt. What pledge have we of thy firm loyalty?
This shall assure my constant loyalty, that if our queen and this young prince agree, I'll join mine eldest daughter, and my joy to him forthwith, in holy wedlock bands.
Yes, I agree, and thank you for your motion. Son Edward, she is fair and virtuous. Therefore delay not, give thy hand to Warwick, and with thy hand thy faith irrevocable. And only Warwick's daughter shall be thine.
Yes, I accept her, for she well deserves it. And here to pledge my vow, I give my hand.
Why stay we now? The soldiers shall be levied, and thou, Lord Bourbon, our High Admiral, shall waft them over with our royal fleet. I long till Edward's fall by war's mischance, for mocking marriage with a dame of France.
Exeunt all but Warwick.
I came from Edward as ambassador, but I return his sworn and mortal foe. Matter of marriage was the charge he gave me, but dreadful war shall answer his demand. Had he none else to make a stale but me? Then none but I shall turn his jest to sorrow. I was the chief that raised him to the crown, and I'll be chief to bring him down again. Not that I pity Henry's misery, but seek revenge on Edward's mockery.
Exit. And let's take the 5-minute break. Home stretch, Act 4. Enter Richard, George, Somerset, Montague. Now, tell me, Brother Clarence, what think you of this new marriage with Lady Grey? Hath not our brother made a worthy choice?
Alas, you know, 'tis far from hence to France. How could he stay till Warwick made return?
My lords, forbear this talk. Here comes the king.
Flourish, enter King Edward, attendant Lady Grey as Queen, Pembroke, Stafford, Hastings, and others who are still on one side or the other. And his well-chosen bride.
Now, brother of Clarence.
I'm mine to tell him plainly what I think.
Now, brother of Clarence, how like you our choice that you stand pensive as half malcontent?
As well as Louis of France or the Earl of Warwick, which are so weak of courage and in judgment that they'll take no offense at our abuse.
Suppose they take offense without a cause. They are but Louis and Warwick. I am Edward, your king and Warwick's, and must have my will.
And you shall have your will, because our king, yet hasty marriage seldom proveth well.
Mm-hmm.
Yea, brother Richard, offended too?
No. God befriend that I should, God forfend, that I should wish them severed, whom God hath joined, and 'twere pity to sunder them that yoke so well together.
Setting your scorns and your mislike aside, tell me some reason why the Lady Grey should not become my wife and England's queen. And you too, Somerset and Montague. Speak freely what you think.
Then this is mine opinion, that King Louis becomes your enemy for mocking him about the marriage of the Lady Bona.
And Warwick, doing what you gave in charge, is now dishonored by this marriage.
Mm-hmm.
What if both Louis and Warwick be appeased by such invention as I can devise?
Yet to have joined with France in such alliance would have strengthened this our commonwealth against foreign storms than any homebred marriage.
I knows not, Montague, that of itself England is safe, if true within itself.
But the safer when 'tis backed with France.
And 'tis better using France than trusting France. Let us be backed with God, and with the seas which he hath given for fence impregnable, and with their helps only defend ourselves. In them and in ourselves our safety lies.
This one speech Lord Hastings well deserves, to have the air of the Lord Hungerford.
Aye, what of that? It was my will and grant, and for this once my will shall stand for law.
Ah, and yet methinks your grace hath not done well to give the heir and daughter of Lord Scales unto the brother of your loving bride. She better would have fitted me or Clarence, but in your bride you bury brotherhood.
Else you would not have bestowed the heir of the Lord Bonville on your new wife's son, and leave your brothers go speed elsewhere.
Alas, poor Clarence, it is for a wife that thou art malcontent. I will provide thee.
In choosing for yourself, you showed your judgment, which being shallow, you shall give me leave to play the broker in mine own behalf. And to that end, I shortly mind to leave you.
Leave me or tarry. Edward will be king and not be tied unto his brother's will.
My lords, before it pleased his majesty to raise my state to title of a queen, do me but right, and you must all confess that I was not ignoble of descent, and meaner than myself, have had like fortune, but as this title honors me and mine, so your dislikes, to whom I would be pleasing, doth cloud my joys with danger and with sorrow.
My love forbear to fawn upon their frowns. What danger or what sorrow can befall thee? So long as Edward is thy constant friend and their true sovereign, whom they must obey? Nay, whom they shall obey and love thee too, unless they seek for hatred at my hands. Which if they do, yet will I keep thee safe, and they shall feel the vengeance of my wrath.
I hear, yet say not much, but think the more. Enter a post.
Now, messenger, what letters of what news from France?
My sovereign liege, no letters and a few words, but such as I, without your special pardon, dare not relate.
Go to, we pardon thee. Therefore, in brief, tell me their words as near as thou canst guess them. What answer makes King Louis unto our letters?
And mine, with these were his very words. Go tell false Edward, thy supposed king, that Louis of France is sending over maskers to revel with him and his new bride.
Is Louis so brave? Be like he thanks me Henry. But what said Lady Bona to my marriage?
These were her words, uttered with mild disdain. Tell him, in hope, I'll prove a widower shortly. I'll wear the willow garland for his sake.
I blame not her. She could say good or less. She hath wrong, but what said Henry's queen? For I have heard that she was there in place.
Tell him, quoth she, my morning weeds are done, and I am ready to put armor on.
Be like she minds to play the Amazon. But what said Warwick to these injuries?
He more incensed against your majesty than all the rest, discharged me with these words. Tell him from me that he hath done me wrong, and therefore I'll uncrown him ere be long.
Does the traitor breathe out so proud words? Well, I will arm me. Being thus forewarned, they shall have wars and pay for their presumption. But say, if Warwick friends with Margaret?
Aye, gracious sovereign, they are so linked in friendship that young Prince Edward marries Warwick's daughter.
Oh, be like the elder. Clarence will have the younger. Now, brother king, farewell, and sit you fast, for I will hence to Warwick's other daughter, that though I want a kingdom, yet in marriage I may not prove inferior to yourself. You that love me and Warwick follow me.
Exit George, and Somerset follows. Not I. My thoughts aim at a further matter. I stay not for the love of Edward, but the crown.
Clarence and Somerset both going to Warwick? Yet am I armed against the worst can happen, and haste is needful for this Desperate case, Pembroke and Stafford, you in our behalf go levy man and make prepare for war. They are already or quickly will be landed. Myself in person will straight forward you. But ere I go, Hastings and Montague, we saw by doubt, you twain of all the rest are near to Warwick by blood and by alliance. Tell me if you love Warwick more than me. If it be so, then both depart to him. I rather wish you foes than hollow friends. But if you mind to hold your true obedience, give me assurance with some friendly vow that I may never have you in suspect.
So God help Montague as he proves true.
And Hastings as he favors Edward's cause.
Now, Brother Richard, will you stand by us?
Aye, and despite of all that shall stand you.
Why so? Then am I sure of victory. Now, therefore, let us hence and lose no hour, till we meet Warwick with his foreign power.
Exeunt. Enter Warwick and Oxford in England with French soldiers.
Trust me, my lord, all hitherto goes well. The common people by numbers swarm to us. But see, where Somerset and Clarence come. Speak suddenly, my lords. Are we all friends?
Fear not that, my lord.
Then, gentle Clarence, welcome unto Warwick, and welcome Somerset. I hold it cowardice to rest mistrustful where a noble heart hath pawned an open hand in sign of love. Else might I think that Clarence, Edward's brother, were but a feigned friend to our proceedings. But welcome, sweet Clarence. My daughter shall be thine. And now, what rests but in night's coverture, thy brother being carelessly encamped, his soldiers lurking in the towns about, and but attended by a simple guard, we may surprise and take him at our pleasure? Our scouts have found the adventure very easy, that as Ulysses and stout Diomede with slate and manhood stole at Tiresias' tent, and brought from thence the Thracian fatal steeds, so we, well covered with the knight's black mantle, at unawares may beat down Edward's guard and seize himself. I say not slaughter him, for I intend but only to surprise him. You that will follow me to this attempt, applaud the name of Henry with your leader.
Henry!
Why then, let's on our way in silent sort. For Warwick and his friends, God and St. George.
Exeunt. Enter 3 watchmen to guard the king's tent.
Mon my masters, each man take his stand. The king by this is set him down to sleep.
But will he not to bed?
I know, for he hath made a solemn vow never to lie and take his natural rest till Warwick or himself be quite suppressed.
Morrow then, belike shall be the day, if Warwick be so near as men report.
But say, I pray, what nobleman is that with the king here resteth in his tent?
'Tis the Lord Hastings, the king's chiefest friend.
Oh, is it so? But why commands the king that his chief followers lodge in towns about him, while he himself keeps in the cold field?
'Tis the more honor, because more dangerous.
But give me worship and quietness. I like it better than a dangerous honor. If Warwick knew it, what state he stands, 'tis to be doubted he would waken him.
Unless our halberds did shut up his passage.
Aye, wherefore else guard we his royal tent, but to defend his person from night foes?
Enter Warwick, George, Oxford, Somerset, and French soldiers.
This is his tent, and see where stand his guard. Courage, my masters, honor now or never. But follow me, and Edward shall be ours.
Who goes there?
Stay, or thou diest.
Warwick and the rest.
Warwick!
Arm! The drum playing, drum smoking, Warwick, Somerset, the rest, bringing the king out in his gown, sitting in the chair. Edward and Hastings fly over the stage.
What are they that fly there?
Richard and Hastings. Let them go. Here is the Duke.
The Duke? Why, Warwick, when we parted, thou calls me king.
Aye, but the case is altered. When you disgraced me in my ambassador, then I degraded you from being king, and come now to create you Duke of York. Alas, how shall you govern any kingdom that know not how to use ambassadors, nor how to contend with one wife, nor how to use your brothers brotherly, nor how to study for the people's welfare, nor how to shroud yourself from enemies?
Yea, brother of Clarence, art thou here too? Nay, then I see that Edward needs must down, yet Warwick, in despite of all mischance, of thee thyself and all thy compliances, Edward will always bear himself as king. Though fortune's malice overthrow my state, my mind exceeds the compass of her wheel.
Then for his mind be Edward England's king.
Takes off his crown.
But Henry now shall wear the English crown, and be true king indeed, thou but the shadow. My Lord of Somerset, at my request, see that forsooth Duke Edward be conveyed unto my brother, Archbishop of York. When I have fought with Pembroke and his followers, I'll follow you, and tell what answer Lewis and Lady Bona send to him. Now, for a while, farewell, good Duke of York.
What fates impose that men must needs abide? It boots not to resist both wind and tide.
They laid him out forcibly.
What now remains, my lords, for us to do but march to London with our soldiers?
Aye, that's the first thing that we have to do. To free King Henry from imprisonment, to see him seated in the regal throne.
Exhibit enter Queen Elizabeth and Rivers. Madam, what makes in you this sudden change?
My brother Rivers, are you yet to learn what late misfortune has befallen King Edward?
What, loss of some pitched battle against Warwick?
No, but the loss of his own royal person.
Then is my sovereign slain?
I almost slain, for he is taken prisoner, either betrayed by falsehood of his guard or by his woes surprised at it unawares. And I further have to understand is new committed to the Bishop of York, fell Warwick's brother, and by that our foe.
These news, I must confess, are full of grief, yet, gracious madam, bear it as you may. Warwick may lose that now hath won the day.
'Tis then fair hope must hinder life's decay, and I the rather wean me from despair, for love of Edward's offspring in my womb. This is it that makes me bridal passion, bear with mildness my misfortune's cross. Aye, for this I draw in many a tear, and stop the rising of blood-sucking sighs, lest with my sighs or tears I blast around King Edward's true heir to the English crown.
But, madam, where is Warwick then become?
I am informed that he comes toward London to set the crown once more on Henry's head. Guess thou the rest. King Edward's friends must down, but to prevent the tyrant's violence. For trust not him that hath once broken faith. I will hence forthwith unto the sanctuary to save at least the heir of Edward's right. Therefore shall I rest secure from force and fraud. Come, therefore, let us fly while we may fly. If Warwick take us, we're sure to die.
Exeunt. Enter Richard, Lord Hastings, Sir William Stanley, and others. Now, my Lord Hastings and Sir William Stanley, leave off to wonder why I drew you hither into this chiefest thicket of the park. Thus stands the case. You know, our king, my brother, is prisoner of the bishop, here, at whose hands he hath good usage and great liberty, and often but attended with weak guard, comes hunting this way to disport himself. I have advertised him by secret means. that if about this hour he make his way under the color of his usual game, he shall here find his friends with horse and men to set him free from his captivity, and to King Edward and huntsmen with him.
This way, my lord, for this way lies the game.
Nay, this way, man. See where the huntsmen stand, our brother Gloucester, Lord Hastings, and the rest. Stand you thus close to steal the bishop's deer?
Brother, the time and case requireth haste. Your horse stands ready at the park corner.
But whither shall we then?
To Lynn, my lord, and ship from thence to Flanders.
Well guessed, believe me, for that was my meaning.
Stanley, I will requite thy forwardness.
But wherefore stay we? 'Tis no time to talk.
Huntsman, what sayest thou? Wilt thou go along?
Better do so than tarry and be hanged.
Come then, away. Let's have no more ado.
Bishop, farewell. Shield thee from Warwick's frown, and pray that I may repossess the crown.
Flourish, enter King Henry, George, Warwick, Somerset, young Richmond, Oxford, Montague, Lieutenant of the Tower.
Master Lieutenant, Master Lieutenant, now that God and friends have shaken Edward from the regal seat and turned my captive state to liberty, my fear to hope, my sorrows unto joys at our enlargement, what are thy due fees?
Subjects may challenge nothing of their sovereigns, but if an humble prayer may prevail, I then crave pardon of your majesty.
For what, Lieutenant? For well using me? Nay, be thou sure I'll well requite thy kindness, for that it made my imprisonment a pleasure, aye, such a pleasure as encaged birds conceive when, after many moody thoughts, at last by notes of household harmony, they quite forget their loss of liberty. But, Warwick, after God thou settest me free, and chiefly, therefore, I thank God and thee. He was the author, thou the instrument. Therefore, that I may conquer fortune's spite by living low where fortune cannot hurt me, and that the people of this blessed land may not be punished with my thwarting stars, Warwick, although my head still wear the crown, I here resign my government to thee, for thou art fortunate in all thy deeds.
Your grace hath still been famed for virtuous, and now may seem as wise as virtuous, by spying and avoid fortune's malice. For few men rightly temper with the stars, yet in this one thing let me blame your grace, for choosing me when Clarence is in place.
No, Warwick, thee art worthy of the sway to whom the heavens is in thy nativity. A judge in all the branch and laurel crown is as likely to be blessed in peace and war, and therefore I yield thee from my free consent.
And I choose Clarence only for protector.
Warwick and Clarence, give me both your hands. Now join your hands, and with your hands, your hearts, that no dissension hinder government. I make you both protectors of this land, while I myself will lead a private life, and in devotion spend my latter days to sin's rebuke and my Creator's praise.
What answers Clarence to his sovereign's will?
That he consents, if Warwick's yield consent, for on thy fortune I repose myself.
Why then, though loath, yet must I be content. We'll yoke together, like a double shadow to Henry's body, and supply his place. I mean in bearing weight of government, while he enjoys the honor and his ease. And Clarence, now than it is more in needful, forthwith that Edward be pronounced a traitor, and all his lands and goods be confiscate.
What else? And that succession be determined?
Aye, therein Clarence shall not want his part.
But the first of all your chief affairs let me entreat, for I command no more, that Margaret, your queen, and my son Edward be sent for, to return from France with speed, for till I see them here, By doubtful fear my joy of liberty is half eclipsed.
It shall be done, my sovereign, with all speed.
My lord of Somerset, what youth is that of whom you seem to have so tender care?
My liege, it is young Henry, Earl of Richmond.
Come hither, England's hope. Secret powers suggest but truth to my divining thoughts. This pretty lad will prove our country's bliss. His looks are full of peaceful majesty, his head by nature framed to wear a crown, his hand to wield a scepter, and himself likely in time to bless a regal throne. Make much of him, my lords, for this is he, must help you more than you are hurt by me.
Enter post.
What news, my friend?
Edward is escaped from your brother and fled as he hears since the Burgundy.
It's savory news. But how made he escape?
He was conveyed by Richard, Duke of Gloucester, and the Lord Hastings, who attended him in secret ambush on the forest side, and from the bishop's huntsmen rescued him, for hunting was his daily exercise.
My brother was too careless of his charge. But let us hence, my sovereign, to provide a salve for any sore that may be tied.
Exeunt all but Somerset, Richard, Richmond, and Oxford.
My lord, I like not of this flight of Edward's, for doubtless Burgundy will yield him help, and we shall have more wars before to be long. As Henry's late presaging prophecy did glad my heart with hope of this young Richmond, so doth my heart misgive me in these conflicts, what may befall him to his harm and ours. Therefore, Lord Oxford, to prevent the worst, forthwith will send him hence to Brittany, till storms be past of civil enmity.
Aye, for if Edward repossess the crown, 'tis like that Richmond with the rest shall down.
It shall be so. He shall to Brittany. Come, therefore, let's about it speedily.
Exeunt. Enter King Edward, Richard, Hastings, and soldiers.
Now, brother Richard, Lord Hastings, and the rest. Yet thus far fortune maketh us amends, and says that once more I shall interchange my wings state for Henry's regal crown. Well, hath it passed, and now we pass, to seize and brought desired help from Burgundy. What then remains, we being thus arrived from Ravenspurge, haven before the gates of York, but that we enter as unto our dukedom?
The gates made fast, brother. I like not this, for many men that stumble at the threshold are well fortified, that danger lurks within.
Hush, man. A boatman must not now affright us. By fair or foul means we must enter in, for hither with our friend repair to us.
My liege, I'll knock once more to summon them.
My lords, we were forewarned of your coming, and shut the gates for safety of ourselves. For now we owe allegiance unto Henry.
But, Master Mayor, if Henry be your king, yet Edward at the least is Duke of York.
True, my good lord. I know you for no less.
Why, and I challenge nothing but my dukedom as being well content with that alone.
But when the fox hath once got in his nose, he'll soon find means to make the body follow.
Why, Master Mayor, why stand you in a doubt? Open the gates. We are King Henry's friends.
Aye, say you so? The gates shall then be opened.
He descends. A wise, stout captain, and soon persuaded.
The good old man would fain that all were well, so 'twere not long of him. But being entered, I doubt not, but we shall soon persuade both him and all his brothers unto reason.
And to the mayor and to aldermen.
So, Master Mayor, these gates must not be shut, but in the night or in the time of war. What, fear not, man, but yield me up the keys? For Edward will defend the town and thee and all those friends that day to follow me.
March, enter Sir John Montgomery and Soldiers. Brother, this is Sir John Montgomery, our trusty friend, unless I be deceived.
Welcome, Sir John. But why come you in arms?
Brandon, you're muted.
To help King Edward in his time of storm, as every loyal subject ought to do.
Thanks, good Montgomery, but we must now forget our title to the crown and only claim our dukedom, till God please to send the rest.
Fare you well. I will hence again. I came to serve a king and not a duke. Drummer, strike up and let us march away.
Nay, stay, Sir John, a while, and we'll debate by what sake means the crown may be recovered.
What talk you of debating? In few words, if you'll not here proclaim yourself our king, I'll leave you to your fortune and be gone. To keep them back that came to succor you. What shall we fight if you pretend no title?
My brother, wherefore stand you on nice points? Resolve yourself, and let us claim the crown.
When we grow stronger, then we'll make our claim. Till then, 'tis wisdom to conceal our meaning.
Way with scrupulous wit, now arms must rule.
And fearless minds climb soonest unto crowns. Brother, we will proclaim you out of hand. The bruits thereof will bring you many friends.
Then be it as you will, for 'tis my right, and Henry beat but upstarts the diadem.
Ah, now my sovereign speaketh like himself, and now will I be Edward's champion.
Sound, trumpet, Edward shall be here proclaimed. Come, fellow soldier, make thou proclamation.
Flourish. Edward the Fourth, by the grace of God, the King of England and France, and Lord of Ireland, etc.
And whosoever gainsay King Edward's right, by this I challenge him to single fight.
Long live Edward the Fourth!
Thanks, brave Montgomery, and thanks unto you all. If fortune serves me right, I'll requite this kindness. Now for this night, let's harbor here in York, and when the morning sun shall raise his car above the border of this horizon, we'll forward towards Warwick and his mates. For well I wot that Henry is no soldier. Ah, forward, Clarence, how evil it beseems thee to flatter Henry and forsake thy brother. Yet as we may, we'll meet both thee and Warwick. Come on, brave soldiers, doubt not of the day, and that once gotten, doubt not of large pay. And they exit.
Enter King Henry, Warwick, Montague, York, Oxford, and Exeter.
What counsel, lords? Edward from Belgia, with hasty Germans and blunt Hollanders, hath passed in safety through the narrow seas, and with his troops doth march amain to London, and many giddy people flock to him.
And let's levy men, and beat him back again.
A little fire is quickly trodden out, which being suffered, rivers cannot quench.
In Warwickshire I have true-hearted friends, not mutinous in peace, yet bold in war. Those will I muster up. And thou, son Clarence, shalt stir up in Suffolk, Norfolk, and in Kent, the knights and gentlemen to come with thee. Thou, brother Montague, in Buckingham, Northampton, and Lancashire, shall find men well inclined to hear what thou commandst. And thou, brave Oxford, wondrous well beloved in Oxfordshire, shall muster up thy friends. My sovereign, with the loving citizens, like to this island girt in with the ocean, or modest Dian circled with her nymphs, shall rest in London till we come to him. Fair lords, take leave, and stand not to reply. Farewell, my sovereign.
Farewell, my Hector, and my Troy's true hope.
In sign of truth, I kiss your highness's hand.
Well-minded Clarence, be thou fortunate.
Comfort, my lord, and so I take my leave.
Thus I seal my truth and bid adieu.
Sweet Oxford, and my loving Montague, and all at once more, a happy farewell.
Farewell, sweet lords. Let's meet at Coventry.
Do it all with King Henry and Exeter.
Here at the palace will I rest a while. Cousin of Exeter, what thinks your lordship? Methinks the power that Edward hath in field should not be able to encounter mine.
The doubt is that he will seduce the rest.
That's not my fear. My meed hath got me fame. I have not stopped mine ears to their demands, nor posted off their suits with slow delays. My pity hath been balm to heal their wounds. My mildness hath allayed their swelling griefs. My mercy dried their water-flowing tears. I have not been desirous of their wealth, nor much oppressed them with great subsidies, nor forward of revenge, though they much erred. Then why should they love Edward more than me? No, Exeter, these graces challenge grace, and when the lion fawns upon the lamb will never cease to follow him.
York,
Hark, my lord, what shouts are these?
enter King Edward, Richard, and soldiers.
Seize on the shamefaced Henry, bear him hence, and once again proclaim us King of England. You are the fount that makes more brooks to flow. Now stops thy spring, my seashells suck them dry, and swell so much the higher by their air. Hence with him to the tower, let him not speak.
Exude same with King Henry.
And lords, towards Coventry bend we our course, where peremptory Warwick now remains. The sun shines hot, and if we use delay, cold biting winters mars our hopes for pain.
Away, bedtimes, before his forces join, and take the great crown, traitor unawares. Brave warriors, march amain towards Coventry. Exuent. Enter Warwick, the mayor of Coventry, 2 messengers upon the wall.
Where is the post that came from valiant Oxford? How far hence is thy lord, mine honest fellow?
By this at Dunsmore marching hitherward.
How far off is our brother Montague? Where is the post that came from Montague?
By this at Daintree with a puissant troop.
Say, Somerville, what says my loving son? And by thy guess, how nigh is Clarence now?
At Southam I did leave him with his forces, and do expect him here some 2 hours hence.
Then Clarence is at hand. I hear his drum.
It is not his, my lord. Here Southam lies. The drum your honor hears marcheth from Warwick.
Who should that be? Belike unlooked for friends.
They are at hand, and you shall quickly know.
March, enter Edward, Richard, and soldiers.
Go, trumpet, to the walls, and sound a parley.
See how the sultry Warwick mans the wall.
Oh, unbid spite. Is sportful Edward come? Where slept our scouts, or how are they seduced that we could hear no news of his repair?
Now, Warwick, wilt thou ope the gates, ope the city gates, speak gentle words, and humbly bend thy knee? Call Edward King, and at his hands beg mercy, and he shall pardon the outrages.
Nay, rather wilt thou draw the forces hence. Confess who set thee up and pluck thee own. Call Warwick patron and be penitent, and thou shalt still remain the Duke of York.
I thought at least he would have said the king. Or did he make the jest against his will?
Is not a dukedom, sir, a goodly gift?
I, by my faith, for a poor earl to give, I'll do thee service for so good a gift.
'Twas I that gave the kingdom to thy brother.
Why then, 'tis mine, but by Warwick's gift.
Thou art no Atlas for so great a weight, and weakling Warwick takes his gift again. And Henry is my king, Warwick his subject.
But Warwick's king is Edward's prisoner, and gallant Warwick do but answer this. What is the body when the head is off?
Alas, that Warwick had no more forecast, but wishes he thought to steal the single 10. The king was slyly fingered from the deck and left poor Henry at the bishop's palace, and 10-1 you'll meet him in the tower.
'Tis even so, yet you are Warwick still.
Come, Warwick, take the time, kneel down, kneel down. Nay, when? Strike now, or else the iron cools.
I had rather chop this hand off at a blow, and with the other fling it at thy face, than bear so low a sail to strike to thee.
Sail how thou canst. Have wind and tide, thy friend. This hand, fast wound about thy coal black hair, shall, whilst thy head is warm and new cut off, right in the dust, to sentence with thy blood. Wind changing Warwick now can change no more.
Enter Oxford with drum and colors.
O cheerful colors, see where Oxford comes.
Oxford! Oxford for Lancaster!
The forces enter the city. The gates are open. Let us enter too.
Though other foes may set upon our backs, stand we in good array, for they know thou wilt issue out again and bid us battle. If not, the city being but a small defense, will quickly rouse the traitors in the same.
O welcome, Oxford, for we want thy help.
Enter Montague with drum and colors.
Montague, Montague for Lancaster.
He enters the city. Thou and thy brother both shall by this treason, even with the dearest blood of your bodies bear.
The harder match, the greater victory. My mind presages happy gain and conquest.
Enter Somerset, with drum and colors.
Somerset, Somerset for Lancaster.
Two of thy name, both dukes of Somerset, have sold their lives unto the house of York, and thou shalt be the third, and this sword hold. Enter George with drum and colors.
And lo, where George of Clarence sweeps along, of force enough to bid his brother battle, with whom an upright zeal to right prevails, more than the nature of a brother's love. Come, Clarence, come. Thou wilt if Warwick call.
Father of Warwick, I know you, what this means. Look, here I throw my infamy at thee. I will not ruinate my father's house, who gave his blood to lime the stones together and set up Lancaster. Why trowest that, Warwick? That Clarence is so harsh, so blunt, unnatural to bend the fatal instruments of war against his brother and his lawful king. Perhaps thou wilt object my holy oath. To keep that oath were more impiety than Jupiter when he sacrificed his daughter. I am so sorry for my trespass. Nay, that to deserve well at my brother's hand, I here proclaim myself thy mortal foe. With resolution, wheresoe'er I meet thee, as I will meet thee if thou stir abroad, to plague thee for thy foul misleading me, and so proud-hearted Warwick, I defy thee, and to my brother turn my blushing cheek. Pardon me, Edward. I will make amends. And Richard, do not frown upon my faults, for I will henceforth be no more inconstant.
Now, welcome more and 10 times more beloved, that if thou never hast to serve thou hate.
Welcome, good Clarence. This is brother-like.
Passing traitor, perjured and unjust.
What? Warwick, wilt thou lead the town in fight? Or shall we beat the stones about thine ears?
Alas, I am not cooped here for defense. I will away towards Burnet presently, and bid thee battle, Edward, if thou darest.
Yes, Warwick. Edward dares and leads the way. Lords to the field, St. George in victory.
Excellent. March. Alarms. Enter King Edward, bringing forth Warwick wounded. No.
So, lie thou there, die thou, and die our fear, for Warwick was a bug that feared us all. Now, Montague, sit fast, I seek for thee that Warwick's bones may keep thine company.
Ah, who is nigh? Come to me, friend or foe, and tell me, who is victor, York or Warwick? Why ask I that? My mangled body shows, my blood, my want of strength, my sick heart shows that I must yield my body to the earth. And by my fall, the conquest to my foe thus yields the cedar to the axe's edge, whose arms gave shelter to the princely eagle, under whose shade the ramping lion slept, whose top branch o'erpowered Jove's spreading tree, and kept low shrubs from winter's powerful wind. These eyes, that now are dimmed with death's black veil, have been as piercing as the midday sun to search the secret treasons of the world. The wrinkles in my brows, now filled with blood, were likened oft to nightly sepulchres. For who lived king but I could dig his grave? And who durst when Warwick bent his brow? Oh, now my glory smeared in dust and blood, my parks, my walks, my manners that I had, even now forsake me, and of all my lands is nothing left me but my body's length. Why, what is pomp, rule, reign, earth and dust? And live we how we can, yet die we must.
Enter Oxford and Somerset.
Warwick, Warwick, wert thou as we are, we might recover all our loss again. The Queen from France hath brought a puissant power. Even now we heard the news. Ah, couldst thou fly?
Why, then I would not fly. Ah, Montague, if thou be here, sweet brother, take my hand, and with thy lips keep in my soul a while. Thou lovest me not. For, brother, if thou didst, thy tears would wash this cold congealed blood that glues my lips and will not let me speak. Come quickly, Montague, or I am dead.
Ah, Warwick, Montague hath breathed his last, and to the latest gasp cried out for Warwick, and said, commend me to my valiant brother. And more he would have said, and more he spoke, which sounded like a cannon in a vault, that might not be distinguished, but at last I well might hear delivered with a groan, oh, farewell, Warwick.
Sweet, rest his soul. Fly, lords, and save yourselves, for Warwick bids you all farewell, to meet in heaven.
Away, away to meet the Queen's great power.
Enter King Edward in triumph with Richard, George, and the rest.
Thus far our fortune keeps an upward course, and we are graced with wreaths of victory. But in the midst of this bright, shining day, I spy a black, suspicious, threatening cloud that will encounter with our glorious sun. Ere he attain his easeful western bed, I mean, my lords, those powers that the Queen hath raised in Gallia have arrived our coast, and, as we hear, march on to fight with us.
A little gale will soon disperse that cloud and blow it to the source from whence it came. Thy very beams will dry those vapors up, for every cloud engenders not a storm.
The queen is valued 30,000 strong, and Somerset with Oxford fled to her. If she have time to breathe, be well assured her affection will be full as strong as ours.
We are advertised by our loving friends that they do hold their course towards Tewkesbury. We having now the best at Bonnet Field will titter straight, for willingness rids way. And as we march, our strength will be augmented in every county as we go along. Strike up the drum, cry courage in a way.
Flourish. Enter Queen Margaret, Prince Edward, Somerset, Oxford, and the soldiers.
Great lords, wise men ne'er sit and wail their loss, but cheerily seek how to redress their harms. What through the mast be now blown overboard, the cable broke, the holding anchor lost, and have our sailors swallowed in the flood? Yet lives our pilot still. Is it meet that he should leave the helm, and like a fearful lad, with tearful eyes add water to the sea, and give more strength than that which hath too much? Whilst in his moan the ship splits on the rock, which industry and courage might have saved. Oh, what a shame! Oh, what a fault were this! Say Warwick was our anchor. What of this? What of that? And Montague our topmast, what of him? Our slaughtered friends the tackles, what of these? Why, is not Oxford here another anchor? And Somerset yet another godly mast? The friends of France are shrouds and tacklings, and though unskilled, why not Ned and I for once allowed the skillful pilot's charge? We will not turn from the helm to sit and weep, but keep our course, though the rough winds say no, from shells and rocks that threaten us with wrack. As good to chide the waves as speak them fair, and what is Edward but a ruthless sea? What Clarence but a quicksand of deceit, and Richard but a ragged fatal rock? All these the enemies to our poor bark. Say you can swim, alas, 'tis but a while. Tread on the sand, say there you quickly sink. Bestride the rock, the tide will wash you off, or else you famish. That's the threefold death. This speak I, lords, to let you understand, in case some one of you would fly from us, that there's no hope for mercy with the brothers, more than with ruthless ways, with sands and rocks. What courage then? What cannot be avoided? 'Twere childish weakness to lament or fear.
Thinks a woman of this valiant spirit should, if a coward heard her speak these words, infuse his breast with magnanimity, and make him naked foil a man at arms. I speak not this as doubting anyone here, for did I but suspect a fearful man, he would have leave to go away at the times, lest in our need he might infect another, and make him of like spirit to himself. If any such be here, as God forbid, let him depart before we need his help.
Women and children of so high a courage, and warriors faint? Why, 'twere a perpetual shame. Brave young prince, thy famous grandfather doth live again in thee. Long mayest thou live to bear his image and renew his glories.
And he that will not fight for such a hope, go home to bed and light the owl by day. If he arise, be mocked and wondered at.
Thanks, gentle Somerset. Sweet Oxford, thanks.
take his thanks that yet hath nothing else.
And enter a messenger. Prepare you, lords, for Edward is at hand, ready to fight. Therefore be resolute.
I thought no less. It is his policy to haste us fast and find us unprovided.
He's deceived. We are in readiness.
This cheers my heart to see your forwardness.
Here pitch our battle, hence we will not budge.
Flourish and march. Enter King Edward, Richard, George, and soldiers.
Brave followers, understand the thorny wood which by the heavens assisted in your strength must be the roots be hewn up yet ere night. I need not add more fuel to your fire, for while I want you blaze to burn them out. Give signal to the fire and to it, lords.
Lords, knights, and gentlemen, what I should say my tears gainsay, for every word I speak, you see I drink the water of my eye. Therefore no more but this. Henry, your sovereign, is prisoner to the foe. His subjects slain. His realm a slaughterhouse, his subjects slain, his statue canceled, and his treasure spent. And yonder is the wolf that makes this spell. You fight injustice, then in God's name, lords, be valiant and give signal to the fight.
Alarm, retreat, excursion, exuent. Flourish, enter King Edward, Richard, George, and soldiers with Queen Margaret, Oxford, and Somerset, prisoners.
Now here, period of tumultuous brawls. Away with Officer Ham's castle straight, for Somerset off with his guilty head. Go bear them hence. I will not hear them speak.
For my part, I'll not trouble thee with words.
Nor I, but stoop with patience to my fortune.
Exuent, Oxford, and Somerset guarded.
So
Is proclamation made that who finds Edward shall have a high reward, and he his life?
It is. And lo, where youthful Edward comes, and a soldier with Prince Edward.
Bring forth the gallant. Let us hear him speak. What can so young a thorn begin to prick? Edward, what satisfaction canst thou make for bearing arms, for stirring up my subjects and all the trouble thou hast turned me to?
Speak like a subject, proud, ambitious York. Suppose that I am now my father's mouth. Resign thy chair, and where I stand, kneel thou, whilst I propose the self-same words to thee, which, traitor, thou wouldst have me answer to.
oh, that thy father had been so resolved.
That you might still have worn the petticoat, and ne'er have stolen the breech from Lancaster.
Let Aesop fable in winter's night. His curlish riddles sorts not with this place.
By heaven, brat, I'll plague ye for that word.
Aye, thou wast born to be a plague to men.
For God's sake, take away this captive scold.
Nay, take away this scolding crookback rather.
Peace, willful boy, or I will charm your tongue.
Tutored lad, thou art too malapert.
I know my duty. You are all undutiful. Lascivious Edward, and thou perjured George, and thou misshapen Dick, I tell ye all, I am your better, traitors as you are, and thou usurpest my father's right and mine.
Take that, the likeness of this rally here.
Sprawlest thou, take that to end thy agony. Absent.
And they're twitting me with perjury. Oh, kill me too.
Marry and shall.
Hold, Richard, hold. For we have done too much.
Why should she live to fill the world with words?
What? Doth she swoon? News means for her recovery.
Clarence, excuse me to the king, my brother. I'll hence to London on a serious matter. Ere ye come there to be sure to hear some news.
What? What?
The tower. The tower. I'll root them out. Exit.
Oh, Ned. Sweet Ned. Speak to thy mother, boy. Canst thou not speak? Oh, traitors. Murderers. They that stabbed Caesar shed no blood at all, did not offend, nor were not worthy blame. For this foul deed were by to equal it. He was a man, this, in respect to child. It's worse than murder, and men ne'er spend their fury on a child. What's worse than murder that I may name it? No, my heart will not burst, and if I speak, and I will speak, that so my heart may burst. Butchers and villains, bloody cannibals! You have no children, butchers. If you had, the thought of them would have stirred up remorse. But if you ever chance to have a child, look in his youth to have him so cut off. As deathmans, you have rid this sweet young prince.
Away with her. Go bear her hence perforce.
Nay, never bear me hence. Dispatch me here. Here, sheath thy sword. I'll pardon thee my death. What? Wilt thou not? Then Clarence, do it thou. By heaven, I will not do thee so much ease. Good Clarence, do. Sweet Clarence, do thou do it. Didst thou not bear me swear I wouldst not do it? Aye, but thou usest to forswear thyself. 'Twas sin before, but now 'tis charity. What? Wilt thou not? Where is thy devil's butcher? Richard, hard-favored Richard! Richard, where art thou? Thou art not here. Murder is thou alms deed. Petitioners for blood, thou never put us back.
Away, I say, away! I charge you bear her hence.
Oh, come to you, and yours as to this prince.
Rest Richard gone?
To London, all in post, and as I guess to make a bloody supper in the tower.
He's sudden if a thing comes in his head. Now march we hence, discharge the coming sun with paying things, and let's away to London, and see our gentle queen how well she fares. By this I hope she have a son for me. And they exit.
Enter King Henry and Richard with the lieutenant on the walls. Good day, my lord. What's at your book so hard?
Ay, my good lord. My lord, I should say rather. 'Tis sin to flatter. Good was little better. Good Gloucester and good devil were alike, and both preposterous, therefore not good lord.
Sirrah, leave us to ourselves. We must confer. Exit lieutenant.
So flies the reckless shepherd from the wolf. So first the harmless sheep doth yield his fleece, and next his throat unto the butcher's knife. What scene of death hath rushed us now to act?
Suspicion always haunts the guilty mind. The thief doth fear each bush and officer.
Bird that hath been limed in a bush, with trembling wings misdoubted every bush, and I, the hapless male to one sweet bird, have now the fatal object in my eye, where my poor young was limed, was caught, and killed.
Why, what a peevish fool was that of Crete, that taught his son the office of a fowl, and yet for all his wings the fool was drowned.
I, Daedalus, my poor boy Icarus, thy father Minos, that denied our course, the sun that seared the wings of my sweet boy, thy brother Edward, and thyself the sea, whose envious gulf did swallow up his life. Ah, kill me with thy weapon, not with words. My breast can better brook thy dagger's point than can my ears that tragic history. But wherefore dost thou come? Is it for my life?
Think'st thou I am an executioner?
Persecutor, I am sure thou art. If murdering innocents be executing, why then thou art an executioner.
Thy son I killed for this presumption.
Hadst thou been killed when first thou didst presume, thou hadst not lived to kill a son of mine. And thus I prophesy, that many a thousand which now mistrust no parcel of my fear, and many an old man's sigh, and many a widow's, and many an orphan's water-standing eye, men for their sons, wives for their husbands, orphans for their parents' timeless death, shall rue the hour that ever thou wast born. The owl shrieked at thy birth, an evil sign. The night crow cried, a boding luckless time. Dogs howled, and hideous tempest shook down trees. The raven brooked her on the chimney's top, and chattering pies in dismal discord sung. Thy mother felt more than a mother's pain, and yet brought forth less than a mother's hope. To wit, an indigested and deformed lump, not like the fruit of such a goodly tree. Teeth hadst thou in thy head when thou wast born, to signify thou camest to bite the world. And if the rest be true which I have heard, thou camest.
I'll bear no more. Die, prophet, in thy speech. For this, amongst the rest, was I ordained.
Aye, and for much more slaughter after this. O God, forgive my sins, and pardon me.
What? Will the aspiring blood of Lancaster sink in the ground? I thought it would have mounted. See how my sword weeps for the poor king's death. Oh, may such purple tears be always shed from those that wish the downfall of our house. If any spark of life be yet remaining, down to hell, and say, I sent thee thither. That I, that have neither pity, love, nor fear, indeed 'tis true that Henry told me of, for I have often heard my mother say, I came unto the world with my legs forward. Had I not reason, yet think ye to make haste, and seek the ruin that usurped our right? The midwife wondered, and the woman cried, Oh, Jesu, bless us, he is born with teeth. And so I was, which plainly signified that I should snarl and bite, to play the dog. Then, since the heavens have shopped my body so, let hell make crowd my mind to answer it. I have no brother. I am like no brother. And 'tis word, and this word love, which graybeards call divine, be resident in men like one another, and not in me. I am myself alone. Clarence, beware, thou keepest me from the light. but I will sort a pitchy day for thee, for I will buzz abroad such prophecies as Edward shall be fortified for of his life, and then to purge his fear, I'll be thy death. King Henry and the prince, his son, are gone. Clarence, thy turn is next, and then the most continuing myself, but had till I be best. I throw thy body in another room. Let us triumph, Henry, in thy day of doom. Exit with body. King Edward, enter King Edward, Queen Elizabeth, George Richard Hastings, and young Prince attendant.
Oh, sorry about that. Once more we sit in England's royal throne. We purchase the blood of enemies. What valiant foemen, like to autumn's corn, have we mowed down in tops of all their pride? These Dukes of Somerset, threefold renowned for hardy and undoubted champions. 2 Cliffords, as the father and the son, and 2 Northumberlands. 2 braver men, near spurred their coursers at the trumpet's sound. With them the 2 brave bears, Warwick and Montague, that in their chains fettered the kingly lion and made the forest tremble when they roared. Thus have we swept suspicion from our seat and made our footstool of security. Come hither, Bass, and let me kiss my boy. Young Ned, for thee, thine uncles, and myself have in our armors washed the winter's night, went afoot in summer's scalding heat, that thou mightest repossess the crown in peace. And of our labors thou shalt reap the gain.
I'll blast his harvest, and your head were laid, for yet I am not looked on in the world. This shoulder was ordained so thick to heave, and heave it shall, some weight, or break my back. Work thou the way, and that shall execute.
Clarence and Gloucester, love my lovely queen, and kiss your princely nephew, brothers both.
Brandon, you're muted. You're still muted.
Okay. The duty that I owe unto your majesty, I seal upon the lips of this sweet babe.
Thanks, noble Clarence. Worthy brother, thanks.
And that I have the tree from whence thou sprangst. Witness the loving kiss I give the fruit. To say the truth, so Judas kissed his master and cried, all hail, when as he meant all harm.
Now, as I'm seated as my soul delights, having my country's peace and brothers' loves.
What will your grace have done with Margaret? Renee, her father, to the king of France hath pawned her Sicels in Jerusalem, and hither have they sent it for her ransom.
Away with her, and waste her hence to France. And now what rest but that we spend the time with stately triumphs, mirthful comic shows, such as befits the pleasure of the court? Sound drums and trumpets, farewell, sour annoy, for here I hope begins our lasting journey.
Excellent. Great.
We're done.
We completed the War of the Roses, except for Richard III.
100 years.
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
I've been watching some documentaries